Oh my God. It is so good to see every single one of you. I'm going to move this over. Does that help? Oh, that looks like now it looks like I'm actually standing in front of a brick wall, and that's exactly what I was going for. Hey, what's up, everybody?
We actually all are standing in front of brick walls with a
like really like right next to each other. We're like right next to each other, really. That's it. Oh, bloody knuckles and all.
Wow.
Guys, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Horn, and this is Pro Wrestling, the podcast celebrating the past, present, future, history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest sport of all time. We're talking about professional wrestling, and I am here with Will Martin. Hello, Will.
Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here. It's been a wild week, and I'm just ready to hang out and talk some pro wrestling. See, I even said wrestling, and I don't normally say that but tonight I'm ready.
You know it's on now, and the woo you heard was the doctor, Rob Stinson. Hello, Doc.
Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy. That's for you, front row.
Yeah, I figured. It's all the Schuler sisters thing in there, but
Skylar sisters, bro. Skylar.
Whatever. Looks like Schuler.
Schwaler.
Well, hey, man, I'm with Will here on this one. I am so happy to be here and just hanging out with you guys. It has been a hell of a week. I think for probably a lot of you, maybe you've had stuff going on. Maybe it's been a busy week. Maybe it's been a stressful week. Lots of stuff going on in the world. Just different things here and there. The things are still crazy, right? There's a transition in the country, and things are still wild. I found out one of my high school buddies this is a real downer way to start the show, but I'll just say this. Like literally today, I found out a high school buddy of mine passed away from COVID. And so I was just like in a bummer of a mood all day. So I just want to establish that this can be so much more than just spreading rumors about professional wrestling. We're here to engage in, I think as Dr. Stinson might put it, fellowship. Like here we are. We're hanging out. We're brothers, sisters. We're all just hanging out. A big fat hashtag WrestleFam. And we're just hanging out here and just talking about professional wrestling as we're apt to do. Rob, I saw that look on your face. What was that?
WrestleFam. And I like how you said we're here just going fellowship, like we're at a potluck with some banana pudding. Banana pudding, boy. Some pot roast.
Boy, I would eat all of that.
Right now. I'm disappointed because I don't have any of that.
We're not at fellowship, guys. We in the club.
We're in the club.
That's it. So let me just say, when I see the doc and when I see Will and when I say that I am happy to see Front Row in the chat and Ryan Romano and Neil Benedict and Dave Scooby and all of you, Jedi Warrior, it's not just me talking just out of left field. I'm genuinely glad to see all of you. It's great to be here. It's great to hang out with all of you. And just so we can just run through everything that's happened this week, talk about anything that's on your mind, and especially talk about professional wrestling because that's our first love. That's our baby. That's just carry it just like this. Just a little cuckoo. Just a little professional wrestling.
Hey, little wrestling.
Hey, you're a wrestler. Anyway.
Well, this show is off to a really weird start, but that means it's going to be a good one. So stick around.
It is. Well, I don't know. Where do you guys want to start? We could here. Let's just do this. I've got some news items, and then we're just going to get into like open conversation with all of you because I think that's what we're really feeling tonight, anyway. So I'm going to throw this thing up at the bottom of the screen, and then I'm going to say we should jump. What is happening?
What is happening?
I don't know. Did I
in the loop?
I I think I had it up on YouTube on the other screen and I didn't realize it. And so it like echoed and I'm like, is the music still playing? What is happening?
I thought that was your transition into the news. What is happening?
What is
Up next in the loop?
Dave, I don't know what that means. I don't know why you would assume that. You obviously listen.
You've got dogs.
I've got dogs. They're like my children, and
they're
say
louder.
"Coo, coo, coo."
They're louder than my kids. So
that is accurate. Oh man! So let's just jump into some professional wrestling over here. Let's talk about some things. I feel like because of the baby reference, the best place to jump in right now is probably into the happy birthdays for the day. So here we go. These are your happy birthdays. All these people were born today. Can you believe it? Like so many professional wrestlers born today. There you can see right front and center is the Honky Tonk Man. Look at him. Just a beautiful, beautiful man. He was, do I have to tell you why the Honky Tonk Man is famous? Maybe Rob can tell us some more details. But, WrestleMania 3 versus the Macho Man, Intercontinental Champion. He called himself the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. 2019 WWE Hall of Famer. Peaked at 150 on the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Top 500 at one point. That's the Honky Tonk Man right there. No,
so you're incorrect, bro.
Okay.
Their birthdays are tomorrow, January the 25th. If you want to find out whose birthdays are today, just simply go to the NWA Pod TikTok, and you'll find out whose birthdays were today. You're a day ahead of yourself.
No, I am not.
Yes, you are. Dude, I don't know. You got Wikipedia. Look it up. Honky Tonk Man was born January 25th. Today is January 24th.
Today, holy
scandal.
Geez. You're right.
Scandal.
I am right. That's why I do every day. I post who died today and who was born today. All you have to do is look at it, Gary.
It's the circle of life, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I am so bummed out. No, I'm on the Pro Fight DB. Do you know that site?
I don't look at that site.
ProFightDB.com, and it has wrestlers born on this day in history, wrestlers who died. It has all the cards, but everything for it is listed January the 25th. And
that site is probably in Europe, and it is January the 25th there.
See, because time zones or Australia.
Well, who did I miss today that was born?
Here, I can tell you.
Listen, why are you trying to do the job of a doctor?
You've got Playboy Gary Hart, one of the.
I don't have any pictures.
Russo,
by the way,
Mike Awesome.
Vince Russo was born today.
And Jay Briscoe.
Jay Briscoe. That sounds familiar.
Congratulations, Jay Briscoe. It's
Gary Hart.
And Gary Hart, by the way.
Mike Awesome.
Excellent name. Mike Awesome.
Oh
God! All right, so everybody's already on me.
I feel like a jerk. Like I should have just let it go, man.
Hey, if you're watching this tomorrow, it's accurate.
It's gonna make sense tomorrow. It's gonna make sense to all the podcast listeners. So I'm not really worried about it, Rob. You call me out when I make a mistake. I was not paying attention to the date. I thought it was January 25th.
That's right. But hey. Something, and again, just to memorialize, if we want to memorialize people, on this date in 1981, the great Orville Brown passed away. And he, of course, is the inaugural NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Also passing away today was Bobby Duncombe Jr., who was known as one of the West Texas Rednecks. And, of course, Dr. Jerry. That's and Dr. Jerry Graham passed away today.
That's pretty amazing. Okay, well,
not today, right? On this day in history.
No, yeah, on this date.
Gotcha.
Date, not today.
All these people died.
So I just wanted clarity in case anyone was misunderstanding what you were saying. Rob, would it make you feel cool if I made you like a little video intro, like this week in pro wrestling history? And then you could do that. I feel like people like that kind of stuff.
The whole show with a fight, but it feels like Rob's just like itching to like battle me for some reason. Like he just wants to.
I'm like, man, you put up a honky tonk, man, and I've already got my TikTok ready for tomorrow. And I was like, no, that's not right, Gary. Well, you're getting ahead of yourself.
All right, well, ignore the honky tonk man here.
Ignore everybody on that picture, actually.
Yeah. So other people you'll notice on this photo here are Mark Andrews over there on the left, who is currently NXT UK star. He peaked at PWI 165 in 2016 and 256 this past year. But
I fixed it.
Happy birthday tomorrow to all of you. Fixed it. Oh God. Anyway, Rob obviously has something planned for all of them. Michelle McCool, you all know as the famous women's wrestler, WWE Women's Champion. She is the wife of the Undertaker also. But not only that, I mean, she is her own success in her own right. In 2008, from like 2008, 9, and 10, she was in the PWI 500. Or whatever the women is, Rob. You probably know that better than me. She was number 9, then number 8, and then number 1 in 2010 as the number 1 female wrestler in the business. To the honky tonks left, your right is Gorgeous George, and I just had to throw her up there because I like looking at her. And she is the valet of Macho Man Randy Savage, is probably how you would best know her in WCW, along with like when he had Molly Holly and Medusa along with him, that whole crew. And then, of course, over further is Stu Grayson from the Dark Order. He is this past year was like number 228 on the PWI. I don't know why I feel the need to bring that up. I just think it's fun to bring up that these are all like super great wrestlers, and teaming up with Evil Uno all the time. But there he is. So all of those people will celebrate birthdays tomorrow.
Sorry, man. I don't mean to be like that, man. I'm just saying.
No, it's okay. I was just I feel like a dickhead now.
That's not why you're a dickhead, Gary. Relax.
Rob, we hired you to bring the facts, and that's what you did. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, you can't
You're the doctor.
Bring the facts.
You can't get mad at a doctor for being a doctor. That's science.
That's true. Let's do something else fun that I thought we would all enjoy, and I'm gonna throw it up right now. Is that did you know? Well, fuck. I mean, sorry. Well,
children.
Fart.
Piper.
Fart. This day.
Get to bed.
1 year ago tomorrow, this will be important.
No. Well, we got things.
Look at this. January 25th on Saturday.
I have a feeling I'm going to be using this banner a lot. Go ahead.
We all gathered round for NWA Power tapings in Atlanta, GA. And there you go. Look at that. Lindsay Snow was there. She defeated Rocky Radley. Royce Isaacs defeated Andre Gunn. Ricky Starks beat Zicky Dice in a television title match. Eli Drake and James Storm. And Trevor Murdoch defeated Aaron Stevens. Orange Santa and the question mark. I love that they called him Orange Santa right there. In that 6-person tag, Matt Cross and Caleb Conley. Another Aaron Stevens and Trevor Murdoch match for the national championship. Thunder Rosa defeated Allison Kay. So that means today in history, and I think Ryan Romano said this. So, Ryan Romano, did you say that? Oh, no, it was Front Row. 1 year ago today was NWA Hard Times. One of my favorite shows I've seen live. TR versus AK was fire. So, that's what we should have celebrated today. Sorry, I screwed up this whole show. And that's really all problems can be traced back to Gary. So I take full credit for that. Thank you, Front Row. Thank you, Ryan Romano, for bringing that up. Thank you for being a part of this wrestling fam, this hashtag Wrestle Fam. It's good to have you all. I'm sorry that I am a failure, but Hard Times was 1 year ago today, and I should have been more prepared for that. You guys have anything to add to this? Because I feel like you're just leaving me hanging here.
This is fun. Just keep talking.
All right. Well, in Hard Times, Trevor Murdoch defeated the Question. This was the television title, guys. This was what was going on 1 year ago. Trevor Murdoch defeated the Question Mark. Dan Moff defeated Zicky Dice. Ricky Starks defeated Matt Cross. And then Eli Drake and James Storm defeated the Rock and Roll Express and the Wild Cards to win the tag team championship, the NWA tag team titles. That was a big deal.
Right. James, that was his eighth tag team championship, more than any other human being in the history of the NWA. James Storm is the perennial tag team champion.
I hope that there's going to be a Tic Tac video about this, Rob. All right. Also, so you know how it goes. Ricky Starks ended up. I mean, the semifinals of the TV title tournament where Ricky Starks fought Tim Storm. Ricky Starks ended up getting the win there. Trevor Murdoch beat Dan Moff, and it ended up being Ricky Starks and Trevor Murdoch in the finals for the television title, and Ricky Starks ended up coming out on top in that matchup. It was an amazing match. And the promo that Ricky Starks, man, he's just like, y'all might as well be calling me Tipper-Pedic the way y'all done slept on me. Put a quarter in your ass. You played yourself. And I've never forgotten that promo. Legendary promo for Ricky Starks. And you see where he is now, and he is on to even greater things. I mean, every single week you watch an AEW Dark episode or Dynamite episode where Jim Ross has anything to say about it or Taz has anything to say about it. They straight up tell you Ricky Starks is a future world champion. So this was where you got the first real taste of Ricky Starks and what he could do as a champion in professional wrestling. So
I mean, like he had established himself leading up to that tournament, if I remember correctly, because I kind of tried to watch all this in order because I became a fan after Power had all taped and aired what we currently have now. But I mean, he had kind of established himself as a promo, but I really feel like that Hard Times pay-per-view and him becoming the NWA TV champion was really what kind of put that big stamp of approval on him. Like, this dude's got it, because they weren't just going to put that belt on anybody. And what he had to go through to get there and win that belt. I mean, I think we all knew watching that he had a bright future. It's a shame it's not in NWA, but like we always say, I mean, we're going to continue to be fans of that guy and his connection to the NWA through that historic title will always be there, no matter where his career goes. So yeah, props to him. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, I think I see Ryan Romano talking about Ricky Starks having a TNT championship run. I believe that's completely reasonable to expect to see that here in the next year. Darby Allin's got it right now. I think Ricky Starks could easily slip into that picture, be a dynamic. This was Nick Aldis's number one draft pick, man. He's just oozing with star power. And I definitely think he's going to be in that championship title picture. And of course, beyond that, I mean, the sky's the limits for him.
It's crazy, man, to think about this being 1 year ago. Like, if I had thought of it to plan it, I mean, we could have sought out Thunder Rosa, because the other thing to not forget about this time in wrestling history is this day 1 year ago is when Thunder Rosa defeated Allison Kay to win the NWA Women's Championship. And she took the Burke from Allison Kay, who had already like begun the process of revitalizing that championship and making it special again. And that was a Jericho thing. Sorry. But Thunder Rosa took that title and then next leveled that junk. Like she took it even further. And so that was wow, this is a special day in history. I mean, what I feel like this show would be talking about 10 years from now.
And betwixt me and you, Gary, I like it when you say again.
Well, now I want a Twix.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to. I mean, I'm glad to find out I'm wrong. Actually, like it would have been awesome to realize this, and we could have maybe had a Thunder pop on the show to talk to you guys about. I mean, where her career's gone. I mean, we're leading right up to her in like a couple of weeks on Beach Blast on AEW taking on Britt Baker, and that's going to be a lot of fun. But then Thunder Rosa, I mean, from that date when we all knew already that she was great, and then she established herself, winning that title, then taking that title and defending it regularly throughout the United States, especially even during the pandemic time, where we witnessed like a star is born. It's weird, actually, now that I even say that. It's like a star is born. Nay, 2 stars were born on that day at NWA Hard Times 1 year ago today. Ricky Starks and Thunder Rosa establishing themselves as legitimate main eventers, legitimate contenders in professional wrestling, like the serious names that you should know. And that's pretty fantastic. This is a special day in history right here.
And you mentioned Beach Blast. I'm not even thinking about Beach Blast because in just 2 Saturdays from now, February the 6th, we're going to have Allison Kay Thunder Rosa 3 at Mission Pro Wishes Granted in a steel cage. Me and Ryan Romano are going to burn down Buda, Texas. We're going to close out the bar.
I thought you said Ryan Romano wasn't allowed to drink anymore.
That's offline, man. We got to go. Don't bring that on. That's not for the public to hear.
I heard Ryan Romano, when you give him, like, he takes like 1 sip of whiskey, and then that guy just, he's
Put it like
impossible.
this. Put it like this. I found everybody was like Thunder, Brian. They were all like, man, where's Romano at? I was like, I think I know where he's at. I went into the bathroom. The man was naked in the sink, man. He was buck naked in the sink. Sorry,
Rob walked in and said, what incarnation? What incarnation?
Like, Ryan, pull yourself together, man. Come on. We still got we're only 1 match into it. So all the photos you saw on social media, that was after the fact.
Oh.
Lord. All right. Well, I'm glad that we realized that I was totally wrong, because this is actually like way more special. This stuff that we've discovered now. This is good stuff. I mean, Hard Times was a special day. I mean, I was happy to be a part of it, happy to be there live. Anyway, it's just it's a good night. And now I'm gonna be honest with you. I have mixed emotions. I am both happy, excited, and sad, and because you would think a year from then, at that time, you would be like, oh, the NWA is going to be on top of the world. And here we are. It's pandemic, and craziness has occurred. So,
well, it's we're coming back. NWA is coming back. And the cool thing to celebrate in all of this is, just a year removed from that event, you can see both Ricky Starks and Thunder Rosa and Eddie Kingston, if you want to throw him in the mix. I don't know what kind of role he played in Hard Times off the top of my head. But you can see them weekly on one of the biggest wrestling television shows that airs on cable. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cool things coming from that. And of course, we we do tie it back to the NWA, but
Tanya Stinson.
Okay, that's fine. No, when I have a good point, you just bring her on and divert everyone's attention.
Sorry, that's what happens.
Oh, what's on my forehead?
Where's the rest? What is happening to you guys? This is like in back.
She got a mud face on. She got a mud face.
This is like in Back to the Future.
Hearing.
This is like in Back to the Future. We gotta change something.
It's super weird how hot she is, even being like only slightly visible.
Yeah, but we're gonna get this looked at. We're gonna get this looked at.
Well, you guys can afford to fix it. That's good. Oh man. Anyways, so yeah, I totally forgot what I was saying, but
sorry about that, man. It's been a
night. It's been a night for Tanya and Rob.
She was in the sink. So yeah, I mean, obviously we would lament about the lack of NWA programming over the past year and wished we had a different story to tell. But, a year from now, we'll have another story to tell. So I'm excited about that.
Hey, man, the biggest and best thing that came out of the whole thing is you people that are hearing our voices right now, you people that are watching live on YouTube or will be watching later on YouTube. That's the biggest and best thing that came out of it. And it's going to continue to grow. Trust us when we say the NWA will be back and we will still be on top of the NWA. It's our baby. It's our main focus always. We love wrestling. We love pro wrestling. But Rob, go ahead.
I see my man Paladin in the chat. I thank you for being here, man. I always enjoy your comments and stuff. And I get it that other shows are other promotions are doing shows, but you have to understand that Power and the concept behind Power was so integral to the NWA and the 20-year plan. I mean, if you listen to Billy Corgan talk, if you listen to what Dave Lagana was saying back in the day, they were committed to Power being with fans. And maybe that's changed a little bit, and maybe they're trying to adapt somewhat to the times because, none of us expected this to be 18, 24 months of shutdown and all that. But at the time, the lockdown was a deliberate thing and the shutdown was a deliberate thing because they felt that the fans being in that studio were so important. And Gary and I can both attest to that because we've both been there. Front row can tell you the fans and the things that make Power so compelling, and the thing that made Power blow up across social media and YouTube was the fact that there was this intimacy, this interaction between the fans and the talent. Think about it. I mean, question mark is a product of the fact that the fans were there. If the fans weren't in there, you wouldn't have a question mark. You might have had them one time and that's it. But there was so much importance vested in the fan presence that when the pandemic hit and we were shut down, NWA were like, you know what, we're gonna go into this Carneyland direction and we're gonna shut down. How long this is, it doesn't matter. When we have Power again, we're gonna make sure we do it with fans. Now, obviously, they've gone back to the drawing board and they're looking at some things, and hopefully, we'll be back in that GPBO studio pretty soon. But they're not going to do anything that's not safe. And Billy Corgan is first and foremost concerned about safety. And he's not AEW. He doesn't have the budget that, the $50 million budget that Ring of Honor has and this and that. I mean, this is not a vanity project, but it is a passion project for him that he funds himself. And he's not going to put his name and his brand behind it unless he can guarantee the safety of everybody that's there. And so whether it happens next month, whether it happens a year from now, the NWA is not done. Power will be back, but we have to be flexible. We have to understand that the NWA has always been a meta promotion. The NWA and Power are integral, but the NWA exists without Power. And the proof of that is the Thunder Rosa Destruction Tour. What Nick Aldis has been doing, defending the title here as of late. The NWA still exists. It's still the preeminent championship. Power is important. It will come back when it's safe, but the NWA is still there.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, Rob. I mean, the thing is that you got to think with as far as like when you're talking about WWE and AEW, I mean, these are companies that are completely in contractual agreements with networks and that sort of thing. There's a lot of power and money that goes into those things. And I know it's easy to say that a millionaire has all of this money and they can make all of these things happen, but to make fiscal, not like physical, but like fiscal sense for like someone. It's you gotta understand. I mean, these are not people that are established or like tied to contractual agreements with networks or anything like that. They're not like carrying on a show that needs to produce. And so you got to think, I mean, where would you have been during that time? Like, would you have felt the need to proceed, or would you have been like, okay, we could take a step back and get in a lay of the land on what's going to happen and that sort of thing? And yeah, I think the pandemic went longer than any one of us could have ever predicted. And so this has become a thing. And so, you know, now we're seeing the options start to appear, and so you saw Billy enter into the agreement with, say, UWN and produce like Primetime Live. And to be honest with you, maybe that wasn't like a complete agreement on both parties on that one. Like maybe it didn't work out as they planned. And so now you're going to see the evolution of that. So it's like everybody's feeling their way through this thing.
Yeah, and it's not, and I see again, Paladin, man, I love your comments and I appreciate your activity in the chat and joining us. It's not been about the studio. I'm gonna tell you right now, there are 100 studios that would grant NWA access. I mean, I've got a studio right here in Ringgold that has offered to the NWA. I mean, the Nature Boy Paul Lee and the Circus 10 Arena would be thrilled to host NWA. It's not about the studio. It's about having a fan presence. That's what's been important to Power. The UWN arrangement was a good thing, but it wasn't Power. It wasn't intended to be a substitute for Power. It was intended to showcase NWA talent alongside UWN talent. It was a venture into a cooperative agreement with the UWN, a chance to get NWA talent out there and to keep them active and to have some title showcase. But it was never intended to be a replacement for Power. There is no replacement for Power. The only replacement for Power is Power. And Power will return, and it will return at some point in some form, but it will do so in a safe way when they're comfortable that the brand is not going to be diminished or tarnished in any way, and where hopefully there can be a fan presence and that kind of thing. But it's, you know, it is what it is. The point is that I'm trying to make is Power is important, but it is not integral to the NWA. The NWA still exists as long as Nick Aldis carries the trophy, as long as Serena Deeb is champion or Thunder Rosa is out there doing what she does. The NWA is still there, and it will be back when the time is right. We have to be patient because you know people out there on the webosphere and in Twitter and all social media, they're impatient. They see what these other promotions are doing and they expect, I want this to happen now under my terms. And it just isn't that way. That's not the reality. It never has been that way. The NWA is under the control, direction, and operation of Billy Corgan. And when he's ready to venture back into Power, he will. And it will happen. He's promised us multiple times that when the time is right, it will happen. Just be patient. Between now and then, our champions are still defending the belts. We just had a phenomenal wrestling match the other night in Omaha, Nebraska, the first time in 30 years that the NWA Championship is defended, and Nick Aldis defended against a great young competitor, Jason Strife. It was a phenomenal match. You can go back. I'm sure you can go find it on Twitch. On what's the promotion? It was trying to think what the Twitch
Magnum Pro.
Magnum Pro Wrestling. And they did a great job. And, of course, Thunder Rosa has been nonstop. She hasn't been defending the Burke. She's been out there representing the NWA on AEW, doing what she does on Mission Pro. We did see Shockwave through UWN. It's been a few weeks since we saw that, but we've got the Pope Elijah Burke active on social media, jockeying for that inevitable conflict or that inevitable matchup with the dealer. The NWA is still active and healthy. Power will come back, but we just got to be patient and allow the factors to be right for there to be fans, because fans are so critical and important and crucial to Power.
Yeah, and Paladin, I see you in the chat saying you don't take anything personal. No.
Well, yeah,
dude,
no,
we are grateful for having you around, and we appreciate your opinion. So I hope you know that.
Yeah.
We're just talking, man. We're just having a discussion. Like we can totally see the criticisms the NWA has faced, everything else. I mean, this has been a weird time in professional wrestling where we're just here like shooting the breeze, like having it out, like discussing the issues at hand. And I mean, at the end of the day, none of us are inside the mind of William Patrick Corgan. Not one of us. So it's we don't 100% know anything about.
As much as we listen to Smashing Pumpkins on a daily basis, I think I can probably say for the three of us, we're still not fully in his mind yet.
I'm working on it. I'm going to create a psychic connection to Billy Corgan. That's one of my goals for 2021.
Oh, yeah. So stay tuned. Stay tuned, because as soon as Gary gets that connection, we'll be cluing all you guys into.
It's like the Vulcan. Like, we're gonna mind meld, and we're gonna do it.
Oh man, more Lord of the Rings references.
But I appreciate his sentiment. I mean, we all want Power back, man. I want Power back just as much as you do. We're hurting for it. But I've been so thankful for Thunder Rosa and for Aldous and for what they've done to sustain the company through these times. You couldn't ask for the company to be in better hands, and it's coming back, man. It's coming back. It's coming back soon.
Did you put on your mic, Rob?
Did I do
what was that?
What was that noise? Did you poot on that mic?
Did I do what?
Did you poot? I'm just kidding.
I don't know what happened.
We are professionals.
No, I didn't mean to like step on your
poot.
Your thought. I don't know. Oh God. Anyway. Thank you, Will. It's January the 24th. I appreciate that.
I just wanted to make sure that the Twitter chat was working too. So yeah, you can watch us on Twitter.
I don't know if this is happening to anybody else, but every day feels the same, and it's weird right now. Wow. The whole world is weird for everybody. Yeah. Ooh, maybe.
That's a good song, man. I like 9 Inch Nails.
Rob doesn't, because
you don't.
Nails? You're wrong, dude. You're gonna get me in trouble.
Whoa, I was about to say this guy's a Tool. I was about to say this guy's a Tool fan. He's got to be a 9 Inch Nails fan.
I love Trent Reznor and 9 Inch Nails, man. When I wrestled,
Gary scared me for a second.
I always dreamed of having a theme song, and I always dreamed my theme song would be "Head Like a Hole," man.
Oh, I feel like that's you.
Because my head looks like a hole.
Yeah, it's like a big old sexy hole.
Oh. All right. Well, here's the thing. Here's the one thing I think I think one of the beautiful parts that's going to come out of this whole deal is that professional wrestling during the pandemic has found that nobody can speak for WWE, even the people that work in WWE. But outside of that, it's like the whole world has learned that you can partner with other wrestling promotions and you can do things together and you can all together promote yourselves and hail yourselves and do some great things together, and you can also entertain your audiences, and your audiences will follow along, and hopefully we'll find that your audiences will support anything that's a part of that type of community, that they'll find some intrinsically valuable things about your thing, that even if they were focused on your partner's thing, that they'll jump over. And I know, Will, you're looking at me like a weirdo. What I'm trying to say is that
I tuned out for a second and then I tuned back in, and I think I missed some context. But go ahead.
Well, the only context I'm trying to say is we're looking at AEW right now, and they're partnering with Impact. We're also seeing the NWA Women's Championship defended on AEW television, and these are not things that I think we would have seen had it not been for a pandemic. And I hope that we find that these things are valuable. These things are important. These things are they work. I guess is mainly where I'm going with it. They're okay. Like, it's okay. Like the NWA title ended up on AEW Dynamite, and nobody lost anything for it. Like, it was fine that the NWA Women's Championship was there. And if anything, maybe people were like, oh, hell, what's the NWA Women's Championship? Let's learn more about that. Let's be involved in the wrestling culture, the community as a whole. That's what I'm hoping for. I guess that's where I was going with that thought, that that's the positive you could take out of this whole situation. And I love that you both nodded your heads.
No, I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute myself. The other thing I want to mention that the pandemic, you got to look at silver linings, and one of the things that the pandemic does, and you alluded to this earlier, Gary, but it has allowed us to kind of augment and build up this community, and we have members of our community going out and doing things. And I'm thinking about like James and Lawrence, who is every day posting things about belts, championship belts. And the NWA Instagram is like sharing that stuff, his belt tidbits. Every day he's putting stuff out there, to showcase championship belt facts and figures and curiosities and all that. And of course we have this show, and we have getting to meet people like Ryan Romano and others that have grown up. Would this have happened without? I mean, I think, it would have happened in some sense, but I think without active NWA wrestling, we've had to kind of bind ourselves a lot closer together, and so we got a lot closer, a lot quicker than we might have otherwise. I mean, we would have gotten close for sure. I mean, I think these guys would have been in the chat and in the conversation. We got a lot closer, a lot quicker because of the situation.
Well, listen, I mean, anybody who's been a part of this show for the last year already knows this, but if you're newer, I mean, that's the reason I'm here. I didn't start watching NWA until quarantine started and work from home and all that stuff. And that's when I really got into it, because I found myself at home with all this time, not really a lot to do. And Gary and I had been talking a little bit, and it was just kind of an idea for me to come on the show every once in a while, maybe, and talk about wrestling. But I dove headfirst into NWA Power and binge watched it and watched all the 10 pounds of gold. And, so, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people, even just like me, who, when everything kind of switched during the pandemic, you had this like archive of NWA Power for free on YouTube that you could go watch. And I know that there was several other people that kind of have a similar story to me. So, I'm ready for it to crank back up, and I've definitely been patient, and we've all been patient, but I think it's going to be worth the wait. And, it's a foregone conclusion. It'll be back. And so at this point, it's just building anticipation for when that actually happens.
I think the thing that makes us different than a lot of other shows that I think we would all agree that we'd like to firmly establish is that we appreciate the days that wrestling was huge. We appreciate the history of wrestling. We appreciate the legacy, the tradition, all of those things that I say like right up at the top of the show. Like we're three dudes that obviously appreciate all of those things. But also, we know there was a time when like professional wrestling wasn't there was an early time where it was huge, and then a time where it dropped off, and then a time that it got huge again. And now we're at a time probably where it's a bit in a valley as opposed to a peak. And we would love to get it back there. And I think that a lot of you would like to get it back there. And I think that's part of what we want. Not to be gatekeepers to what professional wrestling is, or what you should like or not like, or what you should think is good wrestling and bad wrestling. Like, we want to be no gatekeepers. We want to be conductive to like just loving pro wrestling and just bringing it back as a sport, and just bringing it back as something popular and something that we can all enjoy. And it seemed like for us, I mean, so the reason we relate so much to NWA is that it just seemed like an easy, like, bridge to entry, like that was a place you could jump in. If I guess is the best way I could put it. It just seems like NWA Power, one of the beautiful parts of it was like, that was a, like, boom. When that was existing, that was an easily accessible jumping on point, and we can't wait for that to come back.
Well, yeah, and it's NWA is, and this was my story when I jumped into it. It's the most, pure form of, professional wrestling, historic professional wrestling, with honor to tradition, history, legacy, the stuff that we mention up top every show, like you mentioned. But it's like, if I'm going to introduce somebody to professional wrestling, which we've all been there, we're all wrestling fans, right? We've all had people that we've tried to like introduce to professional wrestling. And for me, at least, before the NWA, it was me like apologizing a lot for WWE and being like, oh, just, okay, fast forward through this part. Like, this is kind of stupid, but the main event was good, and it's like, you had to find yourself like making excuses for the stuff that sucked to get to like the stuff that you liked and stuff like that. And I feel like with the NWA, at least for me, I don't have to do that. And that was a breath of fresh air for me. And so that's why I say, like, it's the most pro wrestling out there. And there's other good wrestling out there. We talk about it a lot, especially when the NWA has been on pause. We've talked a lot about AEW and Ring of Honor, especially here lately, and even MLW and Impact lately. And it's been good to gain some more exposure and experience with those promotions, because we do want to be well-rounded wrestling fans. We don't want to be so laser focused that we don't know what's going on in the world of pro wrestling. But, like we always say, NWA is going to be our baby, because it's just, I don't know. It just, for me, it just feels different. And I'm a big feeler. So it's like, when I watch it, I just get a feeling that I don't get when I watch any other promotion, even the other ones that we like put over all the time.
Well, you say a lot of this, Will, and you've said this the day that we've started talking about this. And I think that's 100% true. I mean, the thing is like, you can like or love Impact Wrestling as opposed to AEW Wrestling, as opposed to WWE Wrestling, as opposed to NWA Wrestling, like whatever. I mean, one of the things that we are trying to accomplish with this community, and I think you guys are all a huge part of this, is like, we're trying to create a community that is mostly focused on, yes, there are 100 different ways you can enjoy pro wrestling, but let's all focus in on enjoying pro wrestling. Let's all focus in on, we want pro wrestling to be a huge part of pop culture again, just like it once was. Like, this is I don't know. I feel like this has almost become a mission for this show. This is pro wrestling, to like tell you the value, the intrinsic importance of pro wrestling.
Yeah. And I see my man, James Lawrence, in there. Always good for an opinion. And we feel you, man. We feel you, James. And I think what Gary is pointing out about not being there. There is a sense in which we are gatekeepers, and there's a sense in which we're not. I think what Gary's talking about is we're not going to be snobby and exclusive. Like your opinions have to be filtered through us. That's not what we're saying. I think there is a sense though in which we do safeguard and uphold the history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest sport of all time. And James, I think that you're in that vein with us. I think we've been talking long enough for you to know that we're not about gimmick matches. We're not about silliness. There are people, especially kids, that have a taste for that, and there's people that like the cinema of it. But we are gatekeepers in the sense that we are here to support, uplift, protect the greatest sport of all time, which is pro wrestling or baseball. But for tonight's purposes, pro wrestling. There are going to be people in this chat and people in the extended fam that like what Orange Cassidy does and what like what the Undertaker does and those kind of cinematic things. But all in all, I think we can all agree that at least AEW, because I think that's primarily what you're referring to, at least AEW has a backwards focus in the sense that they respect tradition, they acknowledge the past, they revere the past. That's why you've got guys like Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard that are present. They bring the past in. I think that obviously the WWE probably is the most flippant when it comes to the kinds of prize fighting that we like. When it comes to, like people getting immolated and set on fire and some of the other antics. But still, people like Triple H. I mean, Triple H, he loves the NWA. He respects the NWA. There are people in NXT now that come from Mission Pro, and this is a promotion that is born out of a love for tradition and for the sport. We have a number of women that just got their invite to NXT, and though their names were changed, they're there because they have been out there hustling and prize fighting, and now NXT has recognized that and has brought them in as players, and that's a great tribute to their hard work and to the hard work that Thunder Rosa and Brian Rosa have done to get them over. And then, of course, we've got our promotions out there that are constantly showcasing what we call prize fight wrestling. Every time Nick Aldis steps in the ring and goes in that squared circle and the referee reads out the instructions like they used to do back in 1963, 64, 65, when Buddy Rogers was taking on Pat O'Connor or when Luthez was taking on Buddy Rogers and the instructions were read out. That is an homage to the past. Ring of Honor, when they put out the stats, when they have the pure rules, Impact with a clear association and link to the NWA and to the past. All those things are part of this grand tradition that we do gatekeep. We do respect, uphold, protect, revere, honor, and promote. And Ryan, I see you, man. I appreciate what you're saying there. Go Braves. Hammer and Hank, who has his own special role in the history of the NWA and WCW and rooting out racism and getting out bigotry. He has a special place. You guys can go and Google that. But there's a sense in which we're not gatekeepers. We're not exclusive. We're not snobby. We're not arrogant. We're not like exclusive. But there also is a sense in which we are gatekeepers. And I think, Lawrence, when you talk about being a gatekeeper, I think we're saying the same thing.
Man, Rob, you put it so well, and it's beautiful. And I think that Jesus. Anyway, there's so much to say, but I think now's the time that we shut our mouths and we add somebody more important than us to the stream that can establish something. It's the hair of Thunder Rosa.
Oh, sorry.
Mera.
Can you please take a look at the hair of Thunder Rosa? It is.
No, sorry. I'm trying to put this shower head. And when you were talking, I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot that I'm doing this.
No, you're fine. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Mera is here. I can only ask because I got the request that you join us really quick. I mean, we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of you defeating Allison Kay for the NWA Women's Championship, winning the Burke. But what brings you on today? Because
I think that's what it is. We are. Sorry, my speaker is kind of crazy. We are very. I guess I will say sad and reminiscing of what happened last year because we haven't been able to be back, and 99.9% of the women that were there are not there. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, that's pretty sad, but I mean, what do you, right now for you, I mean, like most of the people, I mean, everything that we've heard, we've heard you and Nick Aldis are there. I mean, that's kind of the thing we've heard. So that's all we know about the NWA right now. So it's tough. Like, I mean, Thunder Rosa's there. I mean, obviously Serena Deeb holds the Burke right now. Nick Aldis he's holding the 10 pounds of gold, but I mean, it's a weird time, right?
Yeah, we're like in a transition. I don't really know what we're living in these days. 2020 just kind of like made me realize just to go with the flow and be happy about it. I'm like, looking forward to finally like finalize this last match with Allison Kay and in February 6th, the cage match. This is the match that we were never able to have, and we were supposed to have last year, but we weren't. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm gonna actually
wait a minute. Hold on. I don't want to cut you off, Miss Rosa Mel. Yeah. Wait, you were supposed to have it last year. What do you mean by that?
Well, we were supposed to have a match last year with Elayna and Allison Kay. It was supposed to be a 3-way for me to defend my championship, but that never happened. Now I don't have the championship, and but we're going to be able to have a match.
You're blowing people's minds right now just by that statement. Like, people didn't know that.
What, I didn't have the championship?
No, that there was supposed to be like a match with like you and Elayna and Allison Kay, and I mean there was like a build up to it, but like nobody knew. Like, I mean, everything just kind of did what it did, Yeah,
it kind of sucks. Like, things just happen the way that it happened, but as professional wrestling, card is subject to change, and like the pandemic changed everybody's card and everybody's in everybody's lives. So I mean, for me, like, that's what I'm like focusing on in the next 2 weeks. It's like I need to watch like some good old school cage matches. I really do want to have something that is. I was just telling Brian, I want something classic. I don't want your typical. Let me get on top and let me do a moonsault and just get the easy pop. It's like really continue to like build this as most psychology wise as possible with the cage that we're gonna have in there. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about the whole thing. I never had a cage match in wrestling. I stepped in the cage before, but that's different. So I'm a little nervous because it's something new that I haven't done ever in my life. And I mean, I'm coming back from what can possibly be one of the best and most weighted feuds for a match with AEW with Britt Baker. So I'm coming in. I'm gonna be coming in either with a lot of steam and ready to beat somebody's ass, or I'm gonna come in with a lot of steam, ready to beat somebody's ass. That's my option.
Let me ask you this, Thunder Rosa. First of all, I'm gonna be there. I try to be there when I can. Ryan Romano and I will both be at ringside to cheer you on. I got to ask, the title's not on the line in this case. So how does that change your approach when it's not a belt? It's just you and Allison Kay. This is just like completely a grudge match. So how does that change your approach when you don't have a title to defend?
I take every match as my last match. So every match is important for me. So that's what I will say. That's how I'm taking this. Is I mean, even though I'm wrestling a lot. You never know when things change and you're not gonna be able to wrestle anymore. So my approach is as I always approach everything in life. I go balls to the wall and everything.
I gotta ask you, because I love that you jump on here with us, and we are always forever grateful to you. You've been so cool with us, but you a year ago were like just a year. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but like think of all the years you've been alive and all the years I've been alive and all of the, like 1 year ago, just one, you went in and at hard times defeated Allison Kay for the NWA Women's Championship. And it was like, I think all of us, like if we're talking about the people that are watching this right now, we all knew, like going in, Thunder Rosa is, for lack of a better term, and just who cares? It's you're hot shit. Thunder Rosa is hot shit. Like she's going into this match, and it's time, and she's destined for greatness, and we felt it, and you saw it happen, and then things probably didn't like escalate as quickly as we would hope because of everything that's happened in the world. But like, still, now, even given the pandemic, it couldn't stop you. Thunder Rosa is still here. Thunder Rosa is still a name. But like, what's your mindset right now? Like, as far as like how you view your career, how you view like your future, like your plans, like does that make sense?
Yes, it does totally make sense. Honestly, like I'm really focusing on every time I step in the ring to just demonstrate why I'm a household name and why I have earned my way in the business. And not so much with being a gimmick. It's like with the work that I have shown in and outside of the ring. I think consistently I have showed at least with my work with AEW that I am a consistent worker, and no matter who's with me in the ring, we always have a pretty decent dance when we get there. And that I don't make excuses for my shortcomings. Like I said, I always give everything I have, and even though sometimes the circumstances are not on my, the odds are not on my, on my favor, I always make it work, right? So I don't know, man. I just have a different perspective about everything in wrestling and everything about life, and I try things that are not on my control to like stop pissing me off. And things have been so much easier. I've been much happier, in a better place, and also knowing my worth and knowing that I am a rising star. And I had been saying this for a while, and people didn't notice until I step into a bigger platform. That really makes me feel really good. And the fact that I'm still doing, televised TV, and it's pretty awesome because they trust me. The company that is working along with NWA, they trust the work that I do. So,
do you feel like people there don't get that for themselves, like that they're not feeling the same way?
I can only speak for myself, and I always tell people, other people, or my peers, if they're feeling, otherwise, I always say the only way that you're gonna be able to prove yourself is to prove everybody wrong. And that means when you get in the ring, you fucking, you have to blow the roof off. If it's a 5-minute match or a 10-minute match or a 15-minute match on a promo or whatever, anytime you have time in front of the camera, you got to blow people's minds always, because, this wrestling business is unforgiving. You make a mistake and everybody eats you alive. Right. So that's what I always say. And that's what I always say. Like my job is to elevate my opponent and to elevate myself while I'm doing it. So winning or losing for me is like, sometimes it stopped mattering in a way. because I just want to have fun and I just want to put the best match that I can.
Well, I can say, we've obviously covered pretty much everything you've been a part of in the past year, from NWA to Mission Pro, which has been incredible to get to know and experience more. And then obviously AEW, stuff you've been doing lately. But, one of the things that we talk about a lot is that you just kind of took advantage of every opportunity that came to you. And, you're hitting a little bit at that now, but for us as wrestling fans, we're looking from the outside and we're kind of drawing all these conclusions, but, that's obviously been your mentality for the past year. But what is it that keeps you, I guess, aside from just knowing your worth? I mean, what is it that keeps pushing you to want to make wrestling fun, even despite all these circumstances?
I will say the impact that I'm having on other women and men in general, in different, businesses. Mm-hmm. It's just like I'm drawing a lot of very positive people in my life in this year, and it's been amazing because of what I'm doing and like what I'm portraying on TV and what they see in my character, and it's really, really cool. Like, I just came from doing a photo shoot, and this photo shoot is a retired veteran. He was a photographer in the Air Force, and he loves wrestling, and I've been working with him for 2 months. The kindest people you ever met, and he just loves the sport, and he comes and takes pictures of my students, of the school. They're gonna come and support us at the show in February 6th, and it's just like, just like the fact that he sits down after we're like done taking pictures, and he's like, just thanks for letting me believe again in wrestling, and that this is real. I've been watching wrestling since I was young, and then, or like, the casual comments that I get on Instagram from men and women that just tell me how inspiring I am, and like how my journey have inspired them to change their life. I think if you don't get, inspired to do more for yourself, like with comments like that, with experiences like that from other people, I don't know what else is going to inspire you to keep going and keep moving forward.
It must give you a rush to see the women that have been featured at Mission Pro, women that you've uplifted and promoted, to not only be showcased on AEW, but now to be signed to even NXT. And then I think of like the women that aren't even there yet, but should be, like La Rosa Negra, your Mission Pro champion, and the inevitable match between La Rosa Negra and Thunder Rosa. That's going to happen at some point. But what kind of how does that make you feel that you've had this influence and this impact to be able to bring women like Maddie Rinkowski and Vert Vixen, to give them the greatest stage that you could give someone, and to promote women's wrestling by doing so?
It's just, I'm opening a door for them like somebody else did for me. I mean, Cheerleader Melissa was the one who opened the doors for me to go to Japan, and I'm very grateful for her for that opportunity. And I asked her a lot of questions and everything, so she gave me that platform. I took it to the next level, and that's what I always tell the ladies. I just opened the door for you guys. Yes, my name was branded on you, and then I will take care of you guys as much as I can, because I want you to be successful. But it's up to them to take it to the next level and work hard. That's it. I am, like I said, I'm really, really happy that I was able to do that for them. Like I said, because somebody else did it for me before, and I'm not the type of person that just because at this moment I'm not able to be signed with AEW or another major company because I am signed with NWA, I wouldn't be like overjealous and not give them the opportunity to get that platform. I think it's just, again, for me, keep moving forward in the next couple of years that I'm going to be wrestling, is just, creating that like a real sisterhood. Like, you are really taking care of each other, and not just saying it to have it in PWI or in a cool Texas monthly magazine. I'm doing it. I put my money where my mouth is, pretty much, always, and I've always been that way. So like I said, I'm really happy to see them on Dark. Hopefully they can keep bringing them back, and like I said, while I am there, I am going to do my best to keep bringing the women's division to another level and uplifting my opponents that that's what I'm there for. That's what they call me. That's what they keep bringing me back. And I'm happy to do that because I love women's wrestling and I want to do something different. Like I said, we started Mission Pro because I still feel we don't have enough spaces for women to wrestle. And now like with working at AEW is like I'm able to work with young talent too in dark matches, and it's really cool to see that. And like again, I was very upset for a couple of years because Lacey Ryan wasn't given an opportunity that she deserved because she was very talented. And I knew as soon as we booked her, just telling Brian, she's gonna get signed. I know she's gonna get signed. And thankfully, she was on the works and she got signed because she's a great talent. And Elayna Black, she got signed too, and I'm really happy for them. Like I said, I know them even before they started wrestling, and now to see them sign on a major company, I'm really really happy for them.
And that's you. I mean, I hope people know like your influence in that. And we talk about you're discussed literally probably every show that we do. You come up in some way, shape, or form.
Well, Rob, if I could jump in there, I mean the part that disappoints me the most is that like you are so good at being so subtle about the way you present yourself, Mel, and I appreciate that you're so humble. But this, I look at this and I'm like, no, you did this. You created something super special, and you are bigger. Like, I don't know. I was just listening to you talk, and it was like, it's so nice for you to say that you're happy that you were able to provide this part to the wrestling industry, but I'm seeing what you've actually produced and I'm like, no, look, you and like Jazz coming from out of nowhere and like you guys you've made a platform that there are literally women who would have never seen the light of day in the wrestling industry potentially if it hadn't been for you guys, like if it hadn't been for what you did. And so I appreciate that you're very humble about it. And I didn't mean to step on you, Rob, but like it's like
I see what you're saying. It's like I said, Brian and I, we know what we're doing. We know we've done this. We run shows for 6 years now, almost as long as I've been wrestling. And when we do stuff, we make them matter. We make them, people will talk about it. And that's what we have done with Mission Pro Wrestling, because we believe in the product and we believe in the things that we can do as a unit, as a group. Because this is not like me and Jazz. It's like, it's a group of women and some men that they believe on women equality.
Mission Pro Wrestling has been some of the best, like the coolest wrestling shows I've seen. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
I know, man. I know, Gary. I mean, I go and watch indie wrestling shows, and I tell Brian, this is the reason why our standards are so high at our show. And yes, people might think that, we're being pompous or we're just being hard on the girls. I was like, no. Like, we want to see real wrestling. We want to give to the world something that they don't get to see often. Yes, they might be other women's shows and where their wrestling, let's be honest, is not good, but they're like hyped up. But when they come to Mission Pro Wrestling, they know they need to put the best performance that they can, because there's a lot of eyes watching our show, regardless of what people say. Like tagging with Title Match Network, it's been one of the greatest things that we have done, because they have such a big following. They support us by promoting, and all the promotion that we've done. I mean, like I said, last show, how many countries was it? 24 or 28? 27 different countries were watching the show online. I think it was like between 3,000 and 4,000 people. That's like a lot of people buying an indie show from Central Texas.
Yep.
Right? And the fan reactions there too, having been in the audience multiple times, it's so organic. Like, I love this tradition that's kind of just sprung up of the fans surrounding and just slapping the ring apron, that just started. No one prompted anybody to do that. And then, like, if you go in before the show starts, the women are all in the ring and they do it. There's photo opportunities. People can come in and they can take a picture, but you can see the chemistry between the women and there's a fellowship there. You mentioned fellowship earlier, Gary. There's a true kindred spirit amongst the women there at Mission Pro. And everybody's kind of, kayfabe aside and titles and this and that, there's a sense there that there's something important going on. I mean, when we went and saw Thunder, when we saw you take on Lindsay Snow that night at the first show, there was a real sense that, like, this is an important night. This is a landmark night in the history of pro wrestling that will never be replicated. But then you go and replicate it. Like, every month you replicate it. It's amazing.
No, because again, I guess that fire never extinguishes, like, on everything we do. And when we get, people writing articles and covering our show, we're not just, pumping ourselves or anything. We are trying to make something different. We are finding women that are in tune with what we're doing and they want to be part of it. And we're going to make it bigger and stronger and better. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's going to take time, but I will keep giving the same speech to everybody as far as, like, because people want to stop us from what we're doing because we're being successful and we're not, like I said, when you were saying, Gary, that I'm humble, I have to be humble because if I start shedding on other people's products, believe me, I could.
Listen, I get that you have to be humble. I mean, we constantly do it too, and it's a thing. This is like part of the deal. But like, if I can be the person that I'll go out of my way to say, I'll blow smoke up your ass and I'll tell you how great you are. And, that's my privilege as having you on the show right now. I get to do that. So here we are.
Well, thank you. And like, again, like I was telling you, it's all about our team. And it's also all about the people that believe in what we're doing. Like, I don't think we were able to run shows if we didn't have the support of our sponsors, like the way that we do all the time. We don't even have to ask them twice. They're just, like, literally financially supporting us a lot, and we are more than welcome. And like I said, we're not making empty promises. Every month we're working on something new and something better for us to give opportunities for ladies in production, from other girls that are coming from out of state, to be able to, like, they can train with us for a week or whatever. They can stay with me, or Jazz. Like, it's like we're really trying to empower different generations of wrestlers, because sometimes the only thing that we have, especially if we're not second generation or third generation wrestlers, is our names. And you better work your ass off to get where you want to get.
Well, so question here from obviously the perspective of us as NWA fans. I know you got a lot going on coming up with Allison Kay and a steel cage, which I am unbelievably excited for, especially now hearing you talk about prepping for that match. I can't wait to see it. And then you've got, Britt Baker, and you are going at it. Is the Burke still sitting there at the front of your mind, that NWA Women's Championship? I know Serena Deeb has it right now, and there's some other stuff going on. Do you give any thought to that title anymore, or have you moved on?
And did you tell Serena Deeb that it's called the Burke, because she needs to know that?
That's true.
I will text her as soon as I'm done talking with you.
Okay.
I mean, it comes back to my mind. I mean, it was a very important moment in my life and in my career as professional wrestlers to win the Burke. Like definitely brought the prestige as a wrestler. Like, I can say I'm a real wrestler in the lineage of Mildred Burke, and the craziness that happened in between, but it's hard. It's a very hard question for me to answer, because I don't really know in terms of what's going to happen with us and what shows we're going to have, or what's the. I don't have control over that, I can say. I mean, it will always be really nice if I can have a run and with Serena, because I think it will be absolutely amazing for me and for the fans to see two of the best wrestlers have a run for the championship. Amen. Right? And can become the second time NWA Women's Champion, which will be freaking huge. Who can say that? Yep. I mean, that would be pretty awesome, but it's completely out of my hands. I will be there. I mean, I am still working with NWA, so it's not like, guys, I'm just gonna take a hiatus and it's not under my control. If it's
things are weird, I think we all get it right now.
So I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, I would love to. I would really love to, especially for who has the title right now. I mean, I think if I would have dropped or lose to somebody else, I would have been freaking pissed and I would have been talking shit right now. Be like, no, man, fuck that. I don't want to risk that person. No, not at all. But it's Serena Deeb, man. Like, she's a genius. Like, I love wrestling her. She's one of the best opponents like somebody could ask for. Of course, like I wanna have a number with her, a long one.
Yeah.
The best.
Well, it's almost intimidating for me to reach out to be like, hey, come on the show. Like, love to talk to you, Serena. Like, she's got like this vibe. Like we caught you early that like we before people realized how special Thunder Rosa was. I feel like we got in, but like with Serena Deeb, it was like already established or something. So it's interesting. Like I think we would love the same thing is what I'm getting at, that we think you two are probably two of the best wrestlers that are in the business right now. And we'd love to see you guys have a feud.
Sign me up. Just sign me up. Believe me, that would be so much. Like the stuff that we could do, the stories that we can tell. Because I've been in a ring with her 3 times, and just like every time just gets better and better and better. What else did I ask as a wrestler? Then I pointed like that.
What do you see with like AEW right now? Like what do you see with I mean, Britt Baker's obviously she's interfered with your plans. Like you've Hikaru Shida was there and you took her to the absolute limit, and she's still there prancing around as the AEW Women's Champion, but I don't know. Like it feels like Britt Baker is like interrupted all your plans. Like you were already there in the main event picture, like you were doing your thing, and then like all of a sudden, like Britt Baker showed up, and she's just like, "You don't even belong here." So
it's funny because I felt I can sense a lot of jealousy coming out of her, and from the moment I was there, I mean, who in their right mind will be like, oh yeah, we're so happy Thunder Rosa's here, and then she's doing main events, and she's doing like, she comes in, does all out and stuff. Like, why wouldn't you interrupt what she's trying to do? And I mean, let's be honest, like Britt Baker has established herself where she's at because she know what her shortcomings are, right?
It almost feels like she missed the point. Like you jumped in and you did what she wished she could have done, and she's now realizing like where she fell short, and she takes it out on you.
But like I said, I don't back down for nobody no more. Nobody. And she can talk all her shit, and she can bring her assistant and her cousin and her mom and her dad. I still be, ready for everybody as anybody would. Like I said, I'm so done with people disrespecting me and doubting me and telling me that I don't belong. Like, maybe they should look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves why they're so jealous, and maybe work a little bit harder on what they need to work harder to get over with our fans. I'm just saying.
If you're able, I know this is a weird question, and if you're able to look past Britt Baker, which I don't think you should. I know you've got a match coming up with her at Beach Blast. But like, who in AEW right now, like who are the people that you see yourself like matching up well with, that you think you'd love to just go one-on-one with?
Red Velvet, Tay Conti, she's really good.
Man,
I would love wrestling Layla Hirsch. She is such a good wrestler. Like, sometimes we look at each other and we're just like, I'm ready to wrestle you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to wrestle you.
Why are we not best friends? Like all these names you're saying. I'm like, oh, I love all of them. They're so good.
I think that will be really, really good. And I think I know a lot of people don't give her credit, but I've had really solid matches with her. It's been swole. Always had solid matches with her. Like I always bring the best out of her. And I think like that's what I like to bring to the table. The best out of anybody that I step in the ring with.
I've always felt like your ideal opponent, and I've told Brian this. I think like the opponent, and Serena Deeb is up there, like you guys said earlier. But I feel like the opponent that was carved out of heaven for you to wrestle repeatedly is Lindsay Snow. I think y'all have the makings of like a phenomenal rivalry. You've already had a couple of great matches. Have you been in communication with her? I know she's been hurt here lately and is
no. I should have. I was about to text her. I talked to her a couple weeks ago, and then when she got injured, and she thought it was something really simple, but it was more serious than she thought. No, I haven't.
Like a dead person's ACL or something. I've been following her story. Yeah.
Yes, but she's gonna come back better and meaner, and when that happens, I'll be there. Be like, you want to wrestle me? I'm ready.
No, you should.
I feel like this
we're not kidding around. Like I think that the two of you, and I'm sorry, Rob, again, I'm stepping on you, but I think what we're getting at is that the two of you have it's like you're destined at the end of the Dark Knight when Batman and the Joker are there, and the Joker says, like, I feel like we're just like destined to do this forever.
Yeah, there's like a chi there. It's like you look at Sting and Darby Allin, you're like, man, yeah, I see that they belong together. It's like you both have similar looks. You both, she's got the tattoos, you've got the paint. You both have backgrounds in MMA and wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Yeah. You have similar styles. You work so well together. It just is like, this is like Flair and Dusty right here. This is the perennial matchup, I think.
I'm just like I said, I'm just waiting for her to get healthy, and most definitely, I would love to train with her once I'm in Jacksonville a little longer, so we can incorporate more of her like real styles, like the MMA. I think it worked really well, and our match, and I think was that the first time that I faced her? That was the first time I faced her ever, so it was really, really good.
No, that's what we're saying is like we saw you face each other and it was amazing. Are you gonna wash your dog? Like, what is Drago getting a bath?
I'm not. I do like this little projects around my apartment, and this thing's been sitting there for 2 weeks. So I'm like, I gotta get it done. But I'm like ADHD. I have ADHD. I gotta be doing something all the time. So now,
dude, you're like my wife. Like she constantly, like, no matter what show we're watching, like she'll just like randomly come up with like something like, do you think we should do this thing?
Brian hates me. He hates me because I always do this. He'd be like, can you just sit down? Can you just like sit down? I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, it's a thing. We can. Hey, listen, Mel, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It is a blessing for having you here. Like you
tell Brian not to hate you. Tell him not to hate you. I will.
Brian's stupid if he hates her. Brian don't hate her.
I will clear it with Tanya.
As he said, be quiet before he puts me back on the shit. Not put you back on the shit. He said that.
The shed is reserved for Rob.
What's it going to be like? What's it going to be like February 6th? Me and Ryan are going to be there. Do I need to? What's it going to be like? Is it going to be cold, hot, snowing? What?
Bring some lawn chairs. You got to. It's gonna be good. He has it on for you. I know. He told me.
Has he got a space heater for me out there?
Yeah. I'm not really cold, but maybe a little wet, but not cold.
Thunder, God bless you, and God bless Brian and your whole family, everything about you guys. Thank you so much for doing this. We are so grateful to all of you. Like you've been so good to us. I can't even.
Well, it goes back to you too, because like it's just again when you like we help each other out in a way, like we cross promote, and we like I was telling you, like because of you I met somebody from TED Talk. She was amazing, and I had that little TED Talk with all these women, and now I'm all like excited because that's one thing that I always want to do. I want to share my story in a bigger platform, and what better way to do it in a TED Talk? So
I'm glad that worked out for you. Yeah.
It worked out, and they loved it. They loved me from the moment I sent her the pictures. They're like, "Oh my God, Thunder fucking Rosa," and she doesn't even follow me. So it's like, it goes both ways, guys. Like, again,
I appreciate you. Like they were immediately like, do you know, like we're doing a theme with women that are empowered, that are badass, that like we gotta have a wrestling theme. Like a friend hit me up. She's like, I know you're into wrestling and you do your wrestling show. Do you happen to know anybody? I'm like, I 100% know exactly who you should be trying to get right now. and
really
and that's where that went. Yeah.
It was really, really cool. I appreciate. I thank you for that, and like you guys, like I thank you because you continue to support us, support the other ladies too. It's not only me. So yeah, you don't forget to send me your address. I just got my comic book. I got a comic book.
Ooh.
This is a special edition. I only had the guy didn't send this on the crate, on the wrestling crate, and he made me like a couple hundred that I'll be selling, but I'll send you a copy because these are one of a kind. They're really, really, their writing is really awesome. And when he described that, the whole thing is like, when he described who Thunder Rosa is in the back, it was like super sweet. But I'm not gonna read to you guys. When you guys get it, you can read it. But
is that guy's name Frank Quietly? Who is that? No, the other one. The other one you did.
No, he's not. No, this is from Headlock Tales from the Road.
Yeah, what's the other one you threw up there though?
No, this is the same. This is the same comic book.
Yeah, that artist.
This is the edition.
I used to be a comic book nerd, and that art.
You're still a comic book nerd. Don't try to.
I'm just saying.
Thunder's on here.
I used to be a comic book nerd, and there was an artist named Frank Quietly, and he worked with like I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm being too nerdy, but that art is incredible.
It is pretty cool, man. It's the art by Doug Hill and Jenny Gorman, and covers by Michael Mulipula.
I'll talk to them. They'll know what I'm talking about.
But yeah, I have this one. This is for Headlock Tales from the Road, and I'm working on my own with another artist and a writer. So we're writing Thunder Rosa comic books, a 2-part comic book.
Hey, Thunder Rosa, I bought a book for my daughter. I didn't even realize you were in it, but it's a children's book called S is for Suplex.
Yes,
a kid's book. And I was reading it to her. I have a video for a table talk that I did with a little Petra, my 2-year-old. And I was like, holy crap, it's freaking Thunder Rosa's in this kid's book.
She's everywhere, man.
Kid's book. Yeah, but the comic is going to be for kids, though. So, like I said, once I get it done, I'll let you guys know, and so you can promote it. But those are the things that I'm working on this year, and doing completely different things that nobody else is doing. And we're going to make 2021 bigger than what it was. 2020.
Oh, God help us. We're going to make 2021 bigger than anything else. And you are part of that. You are a superstar. Thank you so much for doing this. Mel, you are the most beautiful, wonderful person I've ever talked to in my entire life, besides my wife, if she's watching this later.
Well, thanks, Gary.
Yeah, wow.
Rob, not you.
Thanks
not you.
lot.
It's 100% Thunder Rosa. Thank you so much for doing this, for just jumping on here with us. I know you've got other stuff to get to. We are grateful. We 100% are. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
You're very welcome, guys, and thank you for your support as always. And I see you on February 6th.
I'll be there. I'll see you, girl.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. Man,
well,
how lucky are we that Thunder Rosa just like hangs out with us? Like she just comes on here and she just chills with us. Hey, listen, however you started the rest of the day, like however you went through Sunday and you got to this point and you started this show and you're like, I'm gonna turn on a wrestling show and I'm just gonna we're just gonna hang out, we're just gonna blah blah. And I saw Will and Rob right before this and we're like, oh, well, my day's been boo-boo, but
I didn't say that.
You said that, Gary.
Nobody said that.
That was you, man.
And then, like, freaking Thunder Rosa showed up here, and she hung out with us. and she brought that Thunder Rosa charm.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you feel better about life?
Yeah, that's
I
what we
love
need.
life.
Don't you feel
That's what we
better
need.
about what you're doing? Don't you feel better about everything that you've like invested your time in?
Yes, that's what we needed. We needed that shot in the arm. And there's nobody you can talk to in the wrestling business that can do that quite like Thunder Rosa. I mean, the thing that I respect the most is her, and the reason I asked her the question about kind of her motivation, I know that's a little, philosophical and deep, but like that's what's inspiring to me is the fact that, not that she just wants to inspire and she wants to trailblaze and make a name for herself. That's honorable. That's a noble thing to do if you're a professional wrestler, but she wants to make it fun and she wants to make it like matter. I think that's the thing. And I mean, it kind of goes along with the whole conversation we had leading up to her popping on of just like, we want wrestling to matter. We want wrestling to be something that, permeates through culture, not just, as a standalone like entertainment show, holding the same place as, that episode of that show that you're binging. Like we want it to have greater implications, and she's going out and making it happen. So, I mean, if you can listen to her and not be inspired as a wrestling fan, then you don't have a soul. You're not listening. So that was awesome.
No, that's 100% it. Is like she is a person that gets exactly what we're trying to go for. That there's this aspect of it that sorry, I'm all over the place, and now the screen. I'm just going to go back to this because this is the screen that I recognize. This is that I can operate. I can operate in this square, but not other squares. She gets it, man. Like she wants this to be an experience for all the people. She wants to provide something for you people at home right now watching, like Thunder Rosa, Mel Cervantes. Spoiler alert, that's her name. That's her real name. She
breaking kayfabe.
She just wants wrestling to be important. Like she wants people to care about professional wrestling. And I know that doesn't like quite flush with like a lot of people's opinion about wrestling and like the mystique that wrestling is supposed to have and that sort of thing, which we're going to get into, by God, before this show's over. We're going to get into it. But she just, I love her so much. I just love her. She's a beacon. She's a ray of light in this 2020/2021 experience that we've all been living. I'll say that.
I'm gonna tell you what's another ray of light right here. Look at them pecs, Gary. What have you been doing, bro?
What?
You been working out or something? Look at you, bro.
Dude, I'm working. I am. I legitimately am. I mean, since you're asking, yes, I 100% am working out. I'm working out every day for the past few weeks. I've been like going heavy each and every day, trying to eat well. And the only days that I drink are on these Sundays that I get hammer drunk, obviously.
Talking about wrestling.
Talking about wrestling. These are the days that I get hammer drunk. And otherwise, I actually don't drink. I actually don't drink anything. So I know it seems weird to all of you who are tuning in right now that you're like, Gary's drunk all the time. No, actually, my wife would kill me if that were the case. I'm only drunk when I'm talking to you on this show. So,
we bring out the best in him.
Yeah. So here we are. Man, I'm having a hard time. Like, I'm like, oh, well, we should jump back into some news. But I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I just want to talk about how great Thunder Rosa is. And I just love talking about her. But if I could, well, no, go ahead, Will. Sorry.
Well, the one thing I didn't ask her was about the steel cage match and if they had ironed out the rules for that. I know lately, in the past however many years, the rules and the type of steel cage match is always a little bit different based on the promotion. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first steel cage match in Mission Pro Wrestling history. So it's kind of their chance to establish, here's how we do cage matches. And I'm always interested. I would imagine and hope that they're not going to go the route of the shitty WWE, like you can just walk out the door stipulation. That's the stupidest steel cage thing in the entire universe. But I didn't know, and I think we talked about this before, Rob, and you probably got some good historical context for steel cage matches, but like, the whole being able to climb out and become the winner versus like it's just a match you have to win by pinfall or submission inside the cage. That's the only way to win. So I'm just always interested with steel cage matches, like which way they're going to go with that.
Yeah, I think historically the steel cage has been designed. It was designed, I want to say, for the good guy to win, but it was designed to give the baby, to level the playing field for the baby face.
Right.
It was designed to
keep all the interference out.
Yeah, this and that. The other thing that the steel cage does, and I think you're going to see this more in the Allison Kay feature, is the steel cage is a weapon. I don't think that either Allison or Thunder have any interest in climbing out through the door or over the top, but essentially when you're in a steel cage match, it's essentially a non-disqualification match. And you can use what's at your disposal. In this case, what's at your disposal is steel mesh, cold hard steel, and you're in the ring. It's submission or surrender, and you've got this steel encasement that just adds to the brutality. There's probably going to be blood in almost every steel cage match there is, and that's just the nature of it. You're not looking at running out into the ring apron. You're not going to be going to the mat. You're not going to be dealing with countouts. You can't use the ropes as a tool. In the steel cage match, it's just it. It's just it's a straight up, it's a fight to the death essentially. And
do you happen to know when the whole escaping the cage became a thing? Like, was that a WWF, WWE thing? Like, because using that rationale, that's where it doesn't make sense to me. It's like, the prize fight thing to do, which is what we always talk about, is what you just described. It's like, we're going to have a fight in a steel cage and the winner will be determined by whoever wins in that cage. But then this whole, like, you can escape, which doesn't seem badass at all. It kind of seems like cowardly and anti-prize fight, if you ask me. But like, do you have any idea where that came from?
No, but I do remember it. I do remember it being, during the Mid-Atlantic Championship days and during the days of Crockett Promotions. I do remember that being a stipulation from time to time.
Was that maybe like the heel way out? Like they didn't want to make it. They didn't want to make it totally a babyface advantage, And so it's like, okay, well, the heel could be cowardly and escape and win the match. So that became like a factor. I don't love it. I get the mentality of it, though, I guess, when you look at it. I seem
to remember at what you said. I seem to remember there being a cage match between Beautiful Bobby and Loverboy Dennis, the Midnight Express versus the Road Warriors. And the escape the cage stipulation was in there. And it like you mentioned, it's a stipulation that's added in there to give the heels an out without pinning, the babies. The babies can lose without losing. So it's there, but I do remember that being a feature. It wasn't just the WWF that did it, although they do it now a lot. And
it's kind of a standard now in WWE.
Yeah. And I remember like some of the War Games matches, that seemed to be a feature of the War Games matches too. If you could get out, like the night that Kurt Hennig turned on the Four Horsemen and joined the NWO, and they slammed Flair's head into the cage. I seem to remember like escaping the cage might have been a stipulation in that. It might not have been, but there is definitely that stipulation has been there for a while. But historically, that's not been the point.
Yeah.
Historically, the point has been, a cage fight, man, a fight to the death where, everything out of the ring is out and everything in the ring is in, and there's no disqualification, no holds barred. Whatever's at your disposal is there, and the cage is a big weapon, So
yeah.
And I can't think of Allison Kay being in a cage match either. I have to.
Oh, I'm sure she has at some point. Maybe not. I'd have to dig around a little bit, but
yeah. I
like how Gary's just like, obviously he's saying something great right now, but it's like a mystery to us.
Oh, I had myself on mute.
He's just like,
Yard. So sorry. I was just saying, obviously we got to get Allison Kay on here. I am so pumped right now. And I just figured out my earbuds. I got my earbuds in, and I only wish I had been in my earbuds for Thunder Rosa when she was on, because I would have looked less stupid with huge earphones on.
Your earphones double as a microphone, so we could hear you when you were in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Going number 2.
What did you eat for dinner?
It was very noisy. Sauerkraut. It was a lot of sauerkraut.
You're on that pickled kick too, huh?
Yeah, you just gotta roll with that. Hey, here's the thing. Serena D was recently on the AEW Unrestricted podcast. We gave Thunder Rosa a little bit of hell about that, but recently Serena D, by recently, I mean literally this week, she is on the Unrestricted podcast, and there she is in all her glory with the Burke, and she talks about how they ask her what it's like to be the NWA champion, and she says it's an honor that goes without saying. The NWA is, historically speaking, one of, if not the most important promotion in professional wrestling. And it goes back so far. The people that have wrestled for the NWA over the years are the biggest names in wrestling, and the people that I have so much respect for, and the people that I grew up idolizing. Even the list of women that have held this women's championship is incredible. And it's an honor. It's an honor to the fact that this year has just been a whirlwind of, I went from coaching to not knowing what was happening in my life for several months to getting back in the ring. And now I am this champion. It's a big accolade in my life, both personally and professionally. So I just want to establish that Serena Deeb clearly, she already right there just is establishing that she does respect the lineage that is upheld by the Burke, the NWA Women's World Championship. So we gave Thunder Rosa some hell about that championship, but Serena Deeb is a person who does respect that title.
Yeah, I love it too, how all the people on on Facebook, all the keyboard warriors want to talk about the NWA and blah, blah, blah. And the NWA is dead. I was reading some junk today. I don't get engaged. I don't engage in politics on social media. It's stupid. But I think of when the talent, when they attain that pinnacle, when they reach that, they all acknowledge and say the same thing that we all say, and that is that the NWA is it. The NWA is the pinnacle. The NWA is the penultimate trophy that you can attain to. And for Serena Deeb to say that, she has my respect. I would love to have her on this show. And you heard it from Thunder Rosa. She is an honorable champion. She's a deserving champion. And for someone like Thunder Rosa, who has been one of the greatest women's world champions of our lifetimes, to say that means that we owe her our respect and deference as the champ. Right now, Serena Deeb is the queen. She's earned it, and she's an honorable and worthy champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Front Row, for pointing out Allison Kay faced Mia Yim in a steel cage in 2012. So Allison Kay actually has experience, so that's going to be interesting even further into the Mission Pro Wishes Granted show. Allison Kay coming in with some steel cage experience, so that's going to be important. Let's see what else. I just wanted to mention too that it just, I love that Serena Deeb has that agreement. And God, Rob, like just hearing Thunder Rosa talk about her desire, like she would love to continue a feud, like a continuous feud with Serena Deeb, like that. Just man, I hope somebody important is paying attention here and makes that thing happen.
Absolutely, man. I mean, this again, just like we mentioned the whole Lindsay Snow episode and their series of matches. I think the Serena Deeb, to me, I think like Thunder Rosa and Lindsay Snow is Rick and Dusty. That's the feud right there. But Lindsay Snow and Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb can be Rick and Ricky Steamboat. You know what I mean? I mean, it has the same potential and opportunity to be one of those great feuds. And I would love to see that title being exchanged back and forth a couple times.
Yeah, she talks about in this interview that was conducted that she says, when she went in with Thunder Rosa initially, she's like, I just wanted to have an awesome match, make her look incredible. I knew she'd been facing Hikaru Shida, and that got a great response and that sort of thing. She just said, it was such a positive experience, just the way it all turned out. I couldn't have asked for a better story. She just seemed very appreciative and grateful for the experience of facing Thunder Rosa. Also, by the way, in the interview, they did ask her Mount Rushmore of professional wrestlers, and she gave those. They were Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels, and Eddie Guerrero. She said there are some honorable mentions, like Dean Malenko would be on that list as well. So,
oh yeah, definitely, absolutely.
So she obviously appreciates great professional wrestling.
Craig S brings up seeing Deeb in Mission Pro. That's what we should have asked Thunder Rosa. You know how after you talk, like an hour later, you think, man, why did I ask this? That's what we should have asked. When will Serena Deeb appear at Mission Pro?
That is a good question. That is 100%. Like, that is the question we should have asked. You're right. Craig, you nailed it, dude. Like, that's thanks for being here. Wish you'd have shown up about half an hour earlier. That's a question we could have asked. 100%.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig. You blew it. You blew it, Craig.
Nah, great question,
man. Craig.
Great question. No, seriously.
No, seriously. That is a really good question. That would be interesting. Could Serena Deeb show up on Mission Pro Wrestling? What are the chances of that? And yeah, I mean, absolutely. I 100%.
Craig blew it again, man.
Oh, Craig.
We love you, Craig.
Every week.
They're just messing around.
I hate you, Craig.
Craig, every week we talk about this, man. That's
gonna be a new thing, a new segment for the show, like the Craig ass.
Way to go, Craig.
Way to go, Craig. What's the way to go, Craig moment of the week? I think you've started something, so congratulations, Craig. You've done that at least. Pro's not having it. I think it should be a segment.
Yeah, he can moderate the chat, but he can't moderate our comments, so he has to just call us out.
It's like when UWN, the first show, when we had a signal problem. It's like, Craig. That's the Craig moment.
Yeah, every time I get mad at WWE's booking, I'm going to be like, Craig. That was Craig.
It's always Craig. Oh, God. Why? Craig.
Thanks for the
us again, Craig. All right. Anyway. No, I'm sorry. Anyway. But I think you're on to a segment, Craig. What Well, I don't know. I mean, I think we should just throw to the chat, obviously, in a lot of these things. But here's the thing that I intended to be the topic of discussion before we had the surprise run-in by Thunder Rosa. It was that the Undertaker, Mark Calloway, was on Joe Rogan's podcast this week, and it was quite the spectacle. It was a very entertaining interview. I don't know who all had a chance to check it out, but it was great, and I loved listening to it. But a number of wrestling stars have responded now to that interview with the Undertaker, and during a recent I'm trying to think of the best way to like dive into this, but during the recent appearance, he spoke how hard it is for him to watch the current product on WWE. He said, "It's tough right now." This is a quote from him. "It's tough right now for me to enjoy the product because the product has changed so much. It's kind of soft. I'll probably piss a lot of people off, but they need to hear it. It is what it is." He noted how the locker room had changed significantly since the days of crusty effing men, saying that era of guys too, those were men. You go to a dressing room nowadays, it's a lot different. I remember walking into my first real dressing room and I saw some crusty effing men, right? Like half of them had guns and knives in their bags, and shit got handled back then. Now you walk in, there's guys playing video games and effing, making sure they look pretty. It's evolution, I guess. I don't know what that is, but I just prefer, I don't know. I just like those eras, man. I like that men were men. Now, a number of wrestlers from inside and outside of the WWE have reacted to these divisive comments and interviews and on social media. Drew McIntyre jumped in on Sportskeeda and said he didn't agree with Taker's statement, admitting his exact quote is, "I don't agree whatsoever, especially from an in-ring perspective. I've listened to part of it. I got to listen to the whole thing. It's pretty new, but I think he may have been referring to like the kind of storylines and characters, etc. Because we work hard. Like the New Day's Xavier Woods, for instance, respectfully responded to the statement by tweeting out about how previous generation influenced him greatly. He said, "I wouldn't be the person that I am without the guidance and lessons of a few key people from the previous generations of wrestling that taught me about the business to save my money, and that having video games in the locker room is healthier than having redacted." Thank you, guys. Former WWE star Aiden English also had a thing or two to say on the matter. When asked about how he felt about the Dead Men's comments, tweeting, "I understand where someone from his era and time thinks this. Nothing but the utmost respect. However, in the 2020s, I think it's amazing. It's a lot of fun and camaraderie for the locker room. Would you rather we do drugs?" And then at AEW's Trent had a rather blunt take on the Phenom's highly publicized point of view, saying, "This is all a bad take. The Undertaker needs to be in jail." And so that's where we're at right now. The Undertaker on Joe Rogan's podcast. But the big one I think that people took to mind was probably Drew McIntyre's response to the whole thing. He's a very I don't think anybody looks at Drew McIntyre and thinks like, well, there's a soft guy. Like he just he says he thinks that sorry, I was pulling up his exact quote here, but he said back in the day there were more sexual based, more like risque 18 plus. Our current product is PG. There's only so much we can push, and we're willing to push it. There's certain things from back in the day that were awesome and certain things that were not awesome that I wouldn't want to go back to. So I'm not sure if it was more like that, the perspective when it comes to the stories and not being as adult based as it used to be. But I think, we're walking a good line right now. When it comes to the in-ring game, that's just not true at all. It's never been more physical than it is right now. That is according to Drew McIntyre. Anyway, Rob, I see you shaking your head, and you gotta look on your.
I have nothing but respect for Drew McIntyre, but if he's trying to say that like the game is not like above PG today in any aspect, then he's just flat wrong. From immolation to Scarlet Bordeaux. I mean, Scarlet Bordeaux is great, man. I love her. She's one of my favorites. She's one of the reasons I watch NXT. But that right there, just her alone is PG-13. You know, just I'm just saying. And then not to mention the roasting people that it ain't PG, bruh. There's nothing about that that's child friendly.
Roasting people, like literally.
Yeah, like hey,
no,
look at Gary's face.
No, you're stupid.
Well, okay. First of all, that seems rude, but you
got a great face, bro. I'm just messing with you.
Well, thanks. I just wanted to say no. I think the thing is like if I look at like a Drew, and probably what he's thinking is he's like, I bust my ass. Like, I mean, look at Drew McIntyre, and that guy. It feels like you could have dropped him into any era, and he'd be ready to go. Like he's. But there were these eras of wrestling where people act like men were men, and those stories are fun. Don't get me wrong, but it also feels like, yeah, but now wrestling's probably in a better place. Like wrestling's like the wrestlers are probably like getting along with each other, and it's probably better that they don't have revolvers in their bags. Like it's probably like they're just like we're cool with each other. And we're all like seeking the same thing. And I don't know. I guess I see, I know it's weird, but I think I kind of see the sentiment from the locker room right now. And these WWE guys saying like the Undertaker's like looking for this era of like Harley Race. And it's like, yeah, those are fun stories, but like, isn't it cooler that, you know, video games are shitty if they're going to take up all your time and you don't ever proceed in your life. But if they're also like you're doing things with yourself and they're your like other escape, that's okay.
I mean, it opens up a big conversation about like the nature of wrestling and the nature of storytelling and what wrestling has always represented. Wrestling has always been a morality play. It's always been a passion play of sorts. It's always been mythology. But I think before, you know, it was a story that was told within the sphere of like reality. Like these are guys that have real interests and real, self-motivations, and they're driven by something and they go and they duke it out. And today it's like so comic book, you know, nothing wrong with comic books. I mean, we're about to get some Thunder Rosa comic books. You know?
Sorry, Gary.
Yeah. But it's like today it's like, you know, there's always been a sense in which you have to suspend belief a little bit, more so as time has gone on. But today it's like in certain promotions, no, it's not the case. Impact, Ring of Honor, NWA, there's very little suspension of belief. There is some, but with the main, and not even in NXT doesn't do it. NXT is pretty much, it's pretty good prize fighting. But when you get to SmackDown and Raw, man, it's like virtually everything they do, you have to suspend a lot of like plausibility. And that's one, and there's nothing wrong with that per se. It's not immoral, it's not unethical. It's just a different form of, it's a different, you didn't move from, you move from a performance sport to you're moving into pure drama. You know what I'm saying? You're moving into something else that is related to and resembles pro wrestling, but it's really something different. And that's why I think like, you know, Will's all the time talking about it, how WWE won't even call themselves wrestling. They'll call themselves sports entertainment. They don't even mention the word wrestling. And there has to be something to be said about that. Yeah. Am I off?
No. And my takeaway from all that, and sorry, I was kind of in and out because I was dealing with an issue over here. But, you know, it's tough for me because, like, I kind of agree with his comments, but from, like, a story point of view, which I think is what you're trying to say, Rob, like, I don't necessarily think that when you talk about a guy, like, you're talking about, like, big, like manly men, like Drew McIntyre is there, even, despite how you feel about him, Randy Orton, the Fiend, like I know that's gone haywire, that, with the setting people on fire, but those are like scary dudes. You know what I mean? So I don't think, to give him the benefit of the doubt, I don't think he was saying like those kind of guys don't exist anymore. I think I see his point more when it comes to like how they tell these stories. And it did used to be prize fight, grudge matches, duke it out, stuff like that. And so, he made the comments and he called it. He knew what he was doing. He was going to piss a lot of people off. And he did, because you got a lot of guys who look up to the Undertaker as a legend, as an inspiration, as they should, who are hearing these comments, and like, it's not going to sit well with you if you're one of those guys in the locker room. And the only part that I do feel kind of weird about is talking about the locker room and talking about guys with guns and knives. Like, I personally, just knowing stories about those times and watching, Dark Side of the Ring about Bruiser Brody and really getting a glimpse of like what it used to be like back then, I don't ever want it to go back there. You know what I mean? Like I'd much rather him be sitting there playing Nintendo Switch in the locker room than, the alternative. So like, that's where it kind of disconnects for me. But I mean, the Undertaker's one of those guys that when he talks, people listen. Obviously he's earned that right. I don't know if it was like the best thing to say, but I'm with him in terms of like criticizing the current WWE product, but not necessarily like we need more guys with switchblades in the locker room again. Like that was a dark time in wrestling history. So, I don't necessarily see it from that point of view.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big, long period though. I mean, I'm just thinking like, about men handling business in there, and like the backstage drama playing into what happened in the ring. There was a certain reality to it. I'm thinking like just today, if you follow me on TikTok or the NWA pod on TikTok, and I post this stuff to our Instagram and Facebook pages, but I did a story today about Buddy Rogers losing the NWA belt to Luthez. That happened tonight, like 58 years ago tonight. It happened January 24th, 1963. Luthez beat Buddy Rogers for the NWA title. It was a one-fall match. The Northeastern promoters, Toot Monst and Vince McMahon Sr. didn't really want Luthez to bring the NWA belt. They felt like Buddy Rogers was a bigger draw. And so they just didn't recognize the win. They're like, we're not recognizing the title change, because it was under the pretext of like he lost it in one fall. It wasn't a 2 out of 3 fall match. Therefore, we don't acknowledge it. Well, it just so happened like a week later, like February the 3rd, Fez beat Rogers in 2 out of 3 falls, and so they couldn't use that anymore. So they invented this tournament that Buddy Rogers won to crown him the new WWF champion. Well, the reason I'm saying that is there was a lot of people that didn't like Buddy Rogers at the time, and there was even one case where I can't remember which, it might have been Pat O'Connor or Ray Stevens or somebody, like literally broke Buddy Rogers' leg in a shoot match. They broke his leg because they didn't like him. And that's how they did. Real men settling real scores, and it played out in the ring inevitably. And there was a certain charm to it. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Will. I don't want Bruiser Brody to be stabbed backstage to death, or I don't want Sid Vicious to stab Arn Anderson. But there was a certain thing, there was a certain level of like realness, authenticity, and like real. These guys were real men who settled real scores, who had real gravity in the ring, and their in-ring persona and the matches really meant something to them, like in the real world. The kayfabe bled over into real life. And you're right, front row. It's not the Attitude Era. You're absolutely right. I see you. But sorry, my ADD just cracked in. But I mean, there's a sense in which there was a realness and authenticity in those days that played out backstage. It shouldn't come to like people losing their lives over or being like suffering legit bodily harm, but it regularly happened back in those glory days. Like Gorgeous, not Buddy, Buddy Rogers' leg was broke. His arm was broke. I mean, people would like target him because he was this flamboyant, trash talking guy that cut against the grain of what the NWA represented, and they viewed him as dangerous and different. And there's this charm to that. I mean, I don't like the brutality of it, but I like the fact that men were men back then, and they, settled scores in a real way.
Well, I think there's too much of a risk with that, like in 2020 and 2021. I keep saying 2020 like we're not in the new year, but I agree with the sentiment of what you're saying, but like it's kind of like the fact that like, you know what, I wish that we didn't have to like go through metal detectors and get patted down every time we go on an airplane, but we do now because some people effed it up. So I mean, that's kind of the same thing with what you're saying is like, man, I would love for there still to be that kind of realness, and you're right, like there is a charm to it where it's like, especially hearing stories about guys who are like settling actual scores in the ring, like it just made it that much more real. But it's like, unfortunately you got Bruiser Brody, you got guys who had drug addictions and lost their lives early because it was just a really unhealthy environment, because that was how they coped. It's like in order to perform in the ring, they would just beat the crap out of themselves, and then they'd get hooked on pills. And you've got such a long list of guys who are not with us, and that's part of the reason. So it's kind of a give and take. It's like, I'd love to have that vibe, but like if the result of that is going to be dozens of other wrestlers that are wrestling now that aren't going to live to see 60, like that's, it sucks, but that's kind of, you mess with the bull, you get the horns type thing.
Well, I should jump in here and say that like I purposefully withheld like just so that I could hit on these wrestling headlines, like some of the stuff I read from the headlines, but I will say I jumped in on that Joe Rogan podcast and I've listened to it myself, and he 100% Mark Calloway tells stories about like how he got into the wrestling business, like starting out as a basketball player and like getting brought in and like somebody in the weight room at the time saying like, man, you could probably get in pretty good like with professional wrestling, and him sitting outside in the Von Erich's offices, like waiting for 8 months. And like, there are actually stories that he tells in this. It's weird to me that this is the stuff that's breaking out in the media right now, in the wrestling media, because he 100%, like if you go listen to the Joe Rogan interview, it's available on Spotify. He tells these stories about how, like I had the opportunity to go to Lithuania and be like a 6'5" guy and like be like super tall, like playing basketball in a physical environment. Or somebody kept saying like, you should consider professional wrestling. And so then I knew the Von Erichs, and I sat outside in the Von Erichs office, living out of my car, walking into the Von Erichs office for like 8 weeks, just sitting out in their lobby until finally Fritz Von Erich walked out and was like, you look like David Von Erich. And like, or maybe I'm mixing that up, but like he said he was like, he looked like one of the Von Erichs. And so he said he like scored with the Von Erichs and got in there. And his first match he talks about was with, relevant to all of this stuff, his first match was with Bruiser Brody. And he said he walked into a match with Bruiser Brody and was like, I'm bigger than this guy. Like, I think I can, like, this is crazy. I'm much stronger and bigger than this guy. And he said he worked in, and he tells you, I mean, it's so crazy that this is the part of the story that makes it, because he tells you the story in the interview of like getting in the match with Bruiser Brody and locking Bruiser Brody in like a headlock, and Bruiser Brody saying to him, he says, Bruiser says, kid, you need to loosen up. Like, loosen up here. Like, let's ease off. And he says he doesn't, because he's like, I'm bigger than this fucking guy. And he says, like, he's just like, clothesline. He like throws him against the ropes. And he says, but when Bruiser Brody comes back this time, he boots me in the fucking face. And I'm down on the mat. And he's like, and now I don't know what I'm doing. And he's like, and Bruiser Brody proceeds to actually beat my ass for like 5 minutes. And like, he's like, I don't even know where I'm at. Like, I got dinged and I can't even confirm what's happening. And Bruiser Brody like ends up going for the pin, takes me in the back. And I'm like, because it's the pedigree or the way you act at the time. Like, I'm like, thank you, Mr. Brody. Thank you for this match. And he's like, hey, kid, no, you're good. Like, ease off next time when I tell you to ease off next time. And he's like, and that was my first lesson. Like, it was like, he was like, this guy was the master. This guy was the professor. He knew what he was doing. And I don't know. I guess I say all this to say is like, they're acting like there's this thing with the Undertaker in the show that, and it is there, that he wishes men were men and men were stronger. But like a lot of the stuff you'll read acts like he pretends like he wishes everybody carried a gun and wanted to stab each other and all of that stuff. But I did not take that away from the interview. Well, but apparently a lot of people did, but he was just more of the idea that like these guys were like, okay, you want to fucking fight? Like, we'll fight. And I'll show you what I got. Like, let's do this. Let's.
Well, and again, my reaction to that is, and you're right, like it's headlines being pieced together and responses on Twitter to those headlines. It's not an actual like accurate dialogue that's happening on the internet about, this interview. It's one comment that was taken and applied to a bunch of other things he said. And I mean, you guys know how the media and the internet, especially the dirt sheets and things like that, how they work. But it's one of those things where it's like when he says that, again, not to keep harping on this, but it's like the stuff that he's referencing that I understand that he's saying like he wishes there was more of, that stuff has not gone away because the talent doesn't possess that. It's because like the whole culture has changed and you've got scripted promos now, and the stories that you're a part of that are written in a boardroom, not the back room of the venue, it's not conducive to that kind of stuff. I mean, guys don't do that kind of stuff now because it's so heavily micromanaged. Back then it was more of the Wild West. And so that's probably more of what his vibe was. It's like, I wish it was more like the Wild West again, where these guys were masters of their domain. And if they had beef to work out, they'd work it out in the ring and, had more creative control. But when you got somebody telling you like, this is the finisher, this is what you're going to say on the mic, here's word for word, here's your script, here's this, now we're going to do this storyline. It's like, you don't have that kind of freedom to be that way. So in that regard, I totally do agree with him.
Well, I got to throw up front row, our boy here saying, as the call says, this is clickbait. The whole interview is incredible.
Gary, man.
You must listen for any fan.
Clickbait Gary. Clickbait Gary.
No, understand. I mean, this has been a thing going around, and even Drew McIntyre responds to it and says all this thing. And I heard, so I want to throw this in there, that I listened to the Observer podcast. I'm a subscriber to the Observer, and I heard Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez respond to it, and they admittedly said, like right up at the top, like, "Oh, I haven't had a chance to hear it all, but from what it sounds like, he came across pretty rough, like he blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "No, you fuckers haven't." Sorry. Yeah, you didn't listen to it. You did listen to it. You said you didn't listen to it. And you didn't listen to it. Like, the guy's not saying he wishes everybody in the backstage carried switchblades or did drugs or that everybody was like effed up all the time. Like, the guy's just saying there was a time that, like, when you acted like a tough guy, if you walked in the ring and you pretended to be a tough guy, there was a tougher guy that would show you that you're not a tough guy. Like, that was the essential story that was being told in all of these examples. Like, the dirt sheets are given is this is like, no, somebody would call you out on it. Somebody would say, like, how tough are you? Like, we'll see here in this match right now. Like, show me how tough you are. And again, I mean, that may be a thing that's missing from today, and maybe he is accurate in saying, well, for him, that things are softer. But he wasn't saying he wished that everybody was carrying Glocks or like wanting to stab each other in the back. He was saying that people in the back were like, "I'll beat your ass." Right. You have the wrong attitude.
And let's not forget that, I mean, The Undertaker has been part of WWE events and programmings and WrestleManias like up until like this past year. So it's not like he's like been removed for 20 years and is like, look, like he's been there. He gets it. Like, he knows how it's going. So he's not saying, again, like that extreme of it should go back to like it was in the 70s. You know, right. I mean, he's been there for a long time. I think it was just, you know, the comment just being it's a little soft. And then, of course, that's been taken and turned up to 11 by the internet.
Did you say don't Craig it up is what he said.
Craig it up, yeah. And I know that
really Craiged it up over there.
Undertaker and Drew McIntyre, regular listeners of our show, they're probably listening right now. They can come on at any time. Yeah, they can come on at any time. We'll afford them the same respect we did Thunder Rosa, and they can clarify, you know, and add insight and wisdom on that interview themselves, right, Gary? You'd let them.
No, 100%. I mean, I would present them with the platform, and if they want to take it to the octagon, like we could establish dominance in the situation. I mean, not me. Like, I would present Rob as the avatar for the show. Rob would be, if you have anything we say that you disagree with, Rob is our avatar. Please compete with him. and you make that face, Rob, and I know that you only make that face because you think that it'll just be Thunder Rosa, but it could also be Drew McIntyre, and that is a very muscly, hairy body that is going to be dominating you.
Well, look, he's not the first Scott that
I've handled. Oh God, we got to get Tom Latimer on here. The OG Scotsman. Anyway, so that's that. I don't know. Can I say, just for anybody who's still sticking around, SmackDown did amazing last week in the ratings. Apparently, they did a really good job. What?
Oh no, yeah, you just
an opinion already. He hasn't even said.
Say what you got to say, and then I got to say something before we sign off.
Well, I was just going to say, like, as far as the ratings go, I was like really looking at this week because we see it in the Discord all of the time. And one of the things we expected was like a really low rating in all of the stuff on Wednesday because the inauguration and the news that would follow, and AEW killed in the ratings, like as high as the Brody Lee episode of AEW this week on Wednesday night. And And I only say that just to say, like, I mean, obviously the Brody Lee episode would be a highly rated one. They did so again this week. NXT did not do so well. And then Friday SmackDown, just to give them credit, Friday SmackDown did really, really well. They hit like 2.5 million viewers, you know, compared to like Attitude Era, that's nothing. But like now, that's pretty good. And I think that a lot of that involves the Roman Reigns storyline, the Paul Heyman stuff, the Kevin Owens stuff. Like, I think it's good. Like, I think that storyline is actually helping them go up. But I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. That's all I was going for. Is I just wanted to establish that after all this time, the stuff I have legitimately been saying is good stuff from WWE. Their ratings have gone up since this happened. Rob, you're looking at me all like here.
I'm not. I don't watch. I watch neither SmackDown nor Raw. I get all my Raw info from the Quick Take, which is a fast
count. Thank you.
The quick bite. The fast break.
I mean, I should do it for all the shows. I mean, really, but it's just God, it's so.
But I will tell you this, and I say this with my brothers James Lawrence and Front Row in mind, and not because Paladin just made a Trump and Biden reference. I really was thinking this before they said this. I know Front Row and Lawrence are already disappointed in me because I am a Republican, but I have to say, man, and don't be upset, Lawrence. The NXT episode, I think Front Row will agree. The NXT episode last Wednesday was one of the best episodes I've seen in a long time. It was an amazing episode. The Fight Pit episode with Tommaso Ciampa and Tim Thatcher was phenomenal, but that wasn't the best match of the show. The best match of the show was the Dusty Classic women's match between Toni Storm, Mercedes Martinez, and Casey Catanzaro and Carden Carter. It was amazing. And at the peak of the match, if you have not seen this episode, you have to go back and watch what Casey delivers. She gives out what can only be described as and I don't even know if this is right, but I would describe it as a corkscrew 450 swanton. I've never seen it before. It was amazing. It was a phenomenal match. It's my match of the week. Hey, can you put up the match of the week thing? Do we got one of those? Never. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. It's a fantastic match. This NXT episode, and you're looking at an NWA guy right here, bruh. You know, I'm talking about this NXT episode was one of the best episodes I've seen in a long time. Tell me if I'm wrong, Front Row.
Front Row. He's waiting on he's waiting on you. I don't know. I don't think we have a match of the week. That feels like
gotta give 4 more.
Can you give like 4 more closer to that?
Man, I'm telling you, man, just go back and watch it. The Fight Pit match was fantastic. This like speaks to those of us who love prize fighting. When we saw Conor McGregor get beat this week in shocking fashion, which should have made the discussion tonight, and I guess it just did. But the Fight Pit match, I think everybody thought Tommaso Ciampa was going to come in and just bury Timothy Thatcher, but Thatcher laid it to him. And then that scene at the end where they're just like, you know, on the ground, on the mat, 5 feet from each other, just staring at each other. And Thatcher points to his neck, and there was the mutual respect. It was a fantastic scene, a fitting conclusion to a fantastic match. But the match of the night was definitely the Dusty Classic match between those two women tag teams, man. Go back and watch it. I don't want to spoil too much, but it was an amazing finish. And so much so that Piper was watching, I don't know, whatever kids watched, doggone Blue's Clues or whatever, Frozen or whatever. I had to stop it as like, Piper, you got to see this. Look what just happened. And she was like, oh, that was pretty cool. So, man, go back and watch it. This was a great NXT episode.
Well, the thing is, dude, you say that, but the hold on, let me look this up. Where's it at? I'm looking up the ratings right now. I'm just trying to do this because what drives me crazy is like the no, this doesn't feel right. I mean, the AEW killed NXT in the ratings this week, and I only point that out just to say that I thought NXT was the better show this week. I thought AEW was fine, but I thought NXT was the better show. But AEW killed NXT in the ratings this week. Is where I'm going.
I think AEW just has more momentum right now, just overall. I mean, and they didn't they do the birthday party for Brody Jr.? So it was kind of carrying over some of that.
Yeah. I mean, there was that Dynamite. Yeah, there was that portion of it. So yeah, maybe, but that also like said to me, like, I mean, if you were just jumping in and you didn't know anything, I mean, with respect, you didn't know anything about Brody Lee or you didn't know anything about that situation, wouldn't that be like a weird freaking thing to see? That whole segment, it was just odd. But for some reason this week, like AEW killed NXT in the ratings. But I'm with you, Rob. Like, I thought the NXT show, like, as a wrestling show, I thought NXT won this week.
Oh man, it was a far superior show, and I'm with you too. And I don't want to like step on toes and trample on anything sentimental, because I think what AEW is doing with Brody Lee and his son is a phenomenal thing. But at some point, you got to like, the prize fighting has to be like, you know what, we're not going to, Brody Lee Jr. is not going to be a legitimate factor right now. He can't beat anybody. He got a contract, but he's not wrestling now. And let's get, wrestling. We're doing wrestling, and we can do parties and this and that. But at some point we've got to, the world has to move on. We're never going to move on from Brody Lee. And I think it's beautiful that his son is going to be vested in this company and they're invested in him. But I'm with you, Gary. If I just tuned in not knowing anything about anybody, I'd be like, wow, this is kind of bizarre. What's going on right now?
I just love our community. I see the conversation going on in the chat with James Lawrence and Robert Stinson and Front Row, just about right-leaning and left-leaning politics and stuff like that. I appreciate that. I'm grateful for that. But yeah, that has nothing to do, by the way, with the AEW versus NXT discussion. It's just a side note. But yeah, it's like, it feels like AEW is, I don't want to say they're like leaning on that thing, because I don't want to be like a douchebag about it, but it's like it is weird that they carried over in this situation when legitimately I did feel like NXT was the better like professional wrestling show this week.
Yeah, I mean, tragedies happen in the business, man. They happen all the time. I mean, we had a bunch of tragedies this year, and we've had them for years. But you don't then make that tragedy. It's almost like there's an everlasting funeral walking around. Every time they bring that up, it's like, look, man, let's honor the man. Let's honor the man, and he would want the show to move forward. We will remember him. We'll remember him for what he contributed. And again, I don't want to sound like a douchebag either, but I mean, this can't be like the eternal, now because this happened, now we're going to forever celebrate. It's just, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but I'm like, okay, let's move on from that. We honored it. We recognized it. We'll always honor it. but now the show has to move on. You know what I mean? I mean, we've got to move the title pictures forward, and in prize fighting, in simulated combat sports. I mean, Brody Lee Jr. is not going to be a factor in the ebb and flow of the championships and this and that. So it's like, you know, when his time will come, and it will come, it will certainly come, but that time is not right now. Let's set that aside for a moment and move on with what's else, you know, with all the other things going on.
Well, it'll come, assuming that that's the path that he chooses in life. Yeah, I think that it is a weird circumstance that, respectfully saying that, like, you know, Brody Lee passed right before this kid's birthday, so that's probably the situation here. They're focusing in on that because, you know, the scenario is odd. I mean, the kid's having a birthday right after his father passed, so I don't hold any of that against them.
Not at all. Not at all. I think the honor and the support that they bestowed upon him is phenomenal. It's incredible, and to see some of these like social media videos of him like taking out Adam Cole and this and that, I love that stuff, man. I love it. But I think like in any other, we've not seen this amount of like elevation before. It's just typically that's not what takes place. It doesn't become itself. It's almost like, again, and I'm treading lightly here because I don't want to offend anybody, and that's not my intent. Again, I have nothing but respect. You know me. When Brody Lee came to AEW, I was one of his biggest cheerleaders, and I was the one that said he was going to win it all, you know. But I'm thinking like when, gosh, I don't want this to sound the wrong way. I don't, but it's like when Eddie Guerrero passed, and then they came back, and Vicky Guerrero was like, you know, banking on it. You know what I'm saying? Like they were using that to move the storyline along. It almost now seems like the Brody Lee passing has become its own story, like it's moving a narrative along, and it shouldn't be that way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I get what you're saying, and hopefully nobody takes it that way. And I certainly understand where you're at. I don't think that they're going to lay into that. I think they're trying to pursue the, as far as. I guess what I'm saying is like the negative ones stuff that's happening is just because like, hey, it's the kid's birthday. It's right after this tragic event. Like we're honoring this thing. And yes, I can look at it from a outside perspective and see that like that this is probably a weird thing to like just jump into the show and see this thing happening, and that, and appreciate that. But hopefully this is the only time that sort of thing is happening objectively, that this is just a weird whole whirlwind of circumstances. And then as far as like, I don't know, the Dark Order, it feels like they've tried to move on from it. They're going to try to bank on the Adam Page, like the Hangman storyline, and they're gonna slowly like try to move into that area and let's tell the story here. Let's I don't know. I guess anyway, if I sound like I'm slower, so this is because we've been hanging out all night talking about wrestling and drinking. But the point is that I don't think any of it. I don't think they're going to lean into it too much. Is what I'm saying. I think they're treading that line, but they're aware of it, just like we are talking about it right now. They're like, we don't want to, fall too far one way or the other. We're just trying to advance as well.
Yeah. I mean, if we're having this same conversation 3 months from now, maybe. But I mean, this thing just happened, and I think they're just going the extra mile to give the kid and the family, a little bit of charity and help them out a little bit. So I think it's heartwarming, but I agree. Long term, like, I don't want this to be going on 6 months from now where it's like we have to keep reliving it. I think everybody, eventually wants to move on and remember his legacy, but not have it be like a focal point of every show. So,
well, it's been a month, and it's been a focal point on every show since then. So, it's time. At some point, we've got to move on.
You managed to not sound like a dick through this whole time until right now.
Well, I'm just saying, it just happened, like it just happened last week. I mean, if it, he was brought to the ring on the shoulders of Lucha Express 2 weeks ago, and now we're doing. It's not like it just. I'm not trying to sound like a dick, but it's like it didn't just happen. It happened.
You don't at first, but the more you keep talking, the more you are. So,
well,
I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt that we're talking about a human being who was very important, and a kid. Like, I feel like you of all people, talks about being charitable and compassionate. Like, I figured you of all people would be like,
if I passed away, I don't expect them to hover my kid through the school at Ridgeland High School for the next month.
Okay, but would you have a problem with it if they chose to?
I don't have a problem with it, Will. I'm just saying, we're talking about it's time to move on, and they're making a fixture of it. And you're acting like it just happened like a week ago. It happened December the 26th. Now we're moving up on January the 26th. So I didn't feel like a dick until you just made me feel like a dick. And we wouldn't have felt like a dick if we didn't end the show on time, like we never do, 18 minutes ago. So
I don't know if you thought waving your arm went. Oh, he did. He did. All right.
Thanks for hanging out, everyone.
Woof. Shit.
Enjoy your gravy cake.
Oh my God. Well, we're gonna try to resolve all of this, but hey, listen, this is part of family, man. That's how I'm gonna look at it, honestly. Like, this is part of family. This is part of resolving conflict. This is part of, we're all having to do this right now, especially in light of current political climate. This is
no, man. No. I tried to mute myself, man.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't try the studio. And tried to leave the studio. I was like, damn, frantically trying to get back on before y'all signed off.
I was about to hit the button, man.
Front row was with us. John Stallman's asking about Billy Jack Haynes.
Oh my God. 2021.
Hey, by the way, you guys, I love you, John Stallman. Thank you so much for joining. Front row's invested. Front row's Jesus. What the fuck is happening with
in our studio? In our studio, you got a panel down here that says mute, stop cam mic, share screen, and leave studio. So as I was dragging over to mute myself so I could drink without you hearing my eyes, I hit leave studio. That was completely by accident. I did not storm out in anger. That was it just happened that way. I love Will. I love Gary.
I was about to say, you should know that the beauty part is that we took it as this is family. This is what
no. Listen, here was my thing. Here was my thing, and here's why I actually do believe you, Rob, that it was an accident. Because if there was ever a disagreement that you and I have had that you could get mad and storm out, that was not the one.
No.
It gets much worse than that. And I'm like, that really? That's the one that got him? Like,
So I apologize,
anyways.
man. That was not my intention.
You kept
Hey,
everyone
by
on
the
their
way,
toes.
use this as a lesson. All of you people for hanging out with us. Thank you, Front Row. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, James. Thank you, all of you. Thank you for everybody who's watching, who's not participating in the chat. We are grateful for all of you. I hope you hit subscribe. I hope that you. I got the hiccups. Sorry.
Yeah, time for bed.
That's the alcohol and time for bed. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Listen, we're not always going to agree on everything. We're going to have disputes. And I don't even think this dispute is like an actual dispute. It's just like a discussion about
I think we all tread lightly on the Brody Lee subject, because it's like if you say anything like inquisitive at all, we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen to somebody that we respect. It's like suddenly, I can't believe it's untouchable. It's not, it should be. We should be able to discuss things, and nobody's being disrespectful. I think what AEW is doing for that family is amazing, but there comes a time when, look, the world has to move on. The promotion has to move on. And the more you bring this up, the more we're continuously mourning. And I don't think that Brody Lee would want us to continuously mourn,
Well, I'm just going to throw to John Stallman here for the last bit of here. Who's taking bets? The Gary falls up here. Well, sir, you're going to have to stay on a like an all-nighter. That's what you're going to have to do.
When we cover that 24-hour show.
The 24-hour show is when you get me, because I'll tell you what, I haven't drank. Like, I have not had alcohol since the last show we did. So
So until next time,
you gotta catch me when it's right, baby. You ain't gonna get me here. It ain't gonna happen. Ain't falling out of my chair on a Sunday night. Or is this Sunday? Yeah, it's on Sunday night. You ain't gonna catch me. You. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out with us. We love you guys, seriously. Enjoy your gravy cake.